what that is. Good morning, Hatless Monday. Take that. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Wherever you are, however you may be listening, thank you for making us part of your day. It's another beautiful sunny day in Mesa, Arizona. High of 455 trillion goddamn degrees. So there we go. Hatless hot. Yeah, it is hot. That's why we're going hatless. Thank you for bringing that up. Great to see you guys. Feels like a long weekend. Feels like I haven't seen you guys in forever. Jump scare warning. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning.
How?
So are we still gonna get Tuesday? Wasn't the request Tuesday? Do they get 2 days?
For Hatless,
Monday and Tuesday?
Well, I thought that was last Tuesday.
I don't know.
I don't remember. Did I watch that? Oh, go ahead.
It almost feels odd if you're not wearing a hat, to be honest. But
yeah, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's good for you to go hatless every now and then to make people realize that you do have hair.
Not a lot. I don't have great hair. It's definitely thinner than it was. But there we go. I look like Brad Pitt. Oh my God, me and you. Holy shit! Thank you.
Who's lying to you?
Shut up, Jen. How about that? How about just shut up? How about let me just have one fucking moment?
Why would I do that? Where's the fun in that for me?
Cam, we're receding hairline, bros. But yeah, we're both 6'2", Cam. We're the same. Now I look like a gamer. Why does this make me? I even wore a t-shirt today. I went no hoodie. But I actually didn't even think about that. It was a busy morning, and I realized right when we were going live, I didn't have a hat on or a hoodie, so I was like, "Yeah, we'll just go with it."
Oh, that is a shirt.
It's a short sleeve shirt. Yeah, there's arms and everything.
Oh, okay. You do have skin on your arms. Cool.
Were you worried I didn't have a skin?
No,
I think I had scales or something.
I figured you did, but you wearing hoodies all the time is so bizarre to me. It's just
like a sensory thing. I like long sleeve shirts. I always have. I would like when I played soccer until I played in Arizona, like I would wear my long sleeve jersey anytime I could. When I'd play basketball, I'd wear a long sleeve. I just like long sleeve shirts. I think it's because my arms get really sweaty. I'm a pretty sweaty person, and so I just got used to.
That's why I would not want to wear long sleeves, because it would feel sticky.
Some people like a little sticky. Speaking of a little sticky, how was your dates this weekend? Not a bad segue. That's a pretty good segue.
It was not bad. Not the worst. So there's a whole thing, like a jinx thing. If you tell people about, someone that maybe you might be vibing with, it's almost like a guarantee that it's going to stop.
Oh no!
Being a thing.
What happened?
So the Pope and I were supposed to get together on Saturday, and it didn't happen. So
why didn't it happen? Did the Pope not show up?
So we had talked about getting together, and it just he just didn't get back to me. So he said, like, a rain check. So of course I'm going to.
So you're cutting him off? Yeah. You psycho.
Well, we had like one other date that we had to like reschedule. So it's you only can give someone so many chances.
Like, are we sure he's not married? I know the Pope isn't supposed to be married, but are we sure?
He's not married. Yeah, no, he's not married.
Okay.
So gotcha. I did check, but then there is and this is the other thing too. It's like there's someone else that nice enough, but it's some toxic kind of thing, I guess, where if you're not necessarily into that person as much that they're gonna be totally into you. So there's that thing. There's that thing too.
Oslo says you never called back.
I'm sorry, Oslo. I forgot your number. I lost it.
So. I think you just call Sesame Street. Isn't that what you do?
But how do you get to Sesame Street?
I don't know. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
I can't. So.
TikTok. Sorry, your chat is not loading into my Streamlabs chat, so I'll have to try and keep both windows open. I apologize for that.
I want to thank Alter Ego for the 5 YouTube memberships, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Um,
Who you said it was alter
and
ego?
yeah,
Thank you.
and then Amy sent. I don't know if you saw these. Did you see Newsom's final budget for California's deficit free? Maybe they can send more support for red states.
Wait, there's
And then, huh,
he's is he saying he's going to wipe out the deficit? If
I
it's a
guess
budget,
it's.
that's not like I did not see that. Let me pull that up.
And then Blue Chew thoughts on Eric Trump's UFC insider bet attempt.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. That's on the outline. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So yeah. So
Newsom's
that's
mounting a
so
last
I did
ditch
go.
pressure campaign to stop post California billionaire tax. I don't see anything on his budget. So no, I haven't seen it. Didn't come across my timeline today. I don't know.
So yeah. So I did go out with one person.
How'd that go?
And um, I mean, it went fine until Swan kept blowing me up. I've decided she
Cock
doesn't want
blocked
me to
by
have any fun.
Spawn.
She is ridiculous, dude. It's getting on my nerves. It's really starting to get on my nerves. It's like I feel like she's doing it on purpose. She doesn't want me to have any fun.
Yeah.
So
She misses you. She doesn't want a daddy. You do, but she doesn't.
exactly, that's the problem.
That's
So,
tough.
but yeah, so that was my weekend. So
Yeah.
we can get going with the show. So I'm gonna try a new thing for TikTok because there's like the gift gallery. I'm gonna see if like when I set the goals for the gifts, we can knock out some that maybe not. I don't. So maybe we can be more safe on TikTok. So we're not gonna maybe not get taken down.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but
Well, yeah, I
that's
don't think we have anything today on the outline that will upset the overlords at TikTok. We'll see.
right. So we'll see. But yeah. So if you're watching on TikTok, let's get the likes up to let's say 30K likes. We're at almost 7K now. So let's get it to 30K likes. Like I said, I'm filling up the gift goal here in a second. So we're going to go for that. Um, like, share, repost, all the good things over there. If you're not a paid member, subscriber, member, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you're watching, please decide to become one because we are do members only events. We're not going to have one this week, but we'll have one next week. Um, we watch I know we haven't decided. So I'm gonna make that channel right now. Um,
Do we have any suggestions
there
for
was
our next
one.
I can't remember what it was.
It was Mountain Head. Um,
There was a kid that there was a kid that I was friends with in high school that everybody called Mountain Head. He had a very large head. That's what I think of.
or maybe he was good at I don't know other things. I don't know.
It's the sequel to Brokeback Mountain. It's Mountain Head.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly. So Amy, the article Amy was talking about, I just put in our chat, and then the movie that Empathetic recommended too. But so let's see. Yep. So if you want to, if you're a paid member, subscriber, member, whatever the title is, you can join us for these members only events. We'll have another one coming up next Wednesday. If you guys disagree with our TP, you can come up and have a conversation. How you do that is you send me a message on Discord. My Discord username is the Venmo, so Jen with two N's, Deb with two B's, the number one. And I didn't mention the gift goal earlier, so if we can knock out that gift goal, this is our job. We do this each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1. So Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards helping us keep being able to do this each day. So check out the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We got merch. She's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify. So this came from V Team. A photographer was tragically crushed when a massive block of cheddar fell on him.
okay.
In all fairness, the
No.
people he was
No.
photographing did try to warn him.
I love that. Uh, all right. Let's see. Here's what Amy was talking about. I'll pop over to this real quick. So, Governor Newsom announces revised budget that eliminates California's deficit, maintains investments for working families, healthcare, education, and business. The revised budget delivers a $1.8 billion reduction in the general fund spending, and $0 deficit this budget year, next budget year, and structural deficit through July of 2028. What are they cutting? Uh, what are they cutting? While restoring fiscal stability, the revised budget continues major investments in affordability and essential services, including a $300 million investment to protect healthcare affordability after Trump's failure to renew the Affordable Care Act subsidies, 50% tax cut for hundreds of thousands of new small business through lower LLC fees. That can't be a 50% tax cut, can it? Like I don't know what are the LLC fees like in California? That's crazy. 5 billion block grant for priorities such as teacher training and support. Oh no, not more teachers. The largest special education investment in California history, 2.4 billion. That's amazing. 500 million investment to expand literacy. New $100 million disaster rebuilding fund to help wildfire survivors rebuild homes. New affordable housing reforms to reduce construction costs and build more housing. So I'd have to see where the spending cuts were, but I actually think I saw a tweet about this. I didn't realize it was about Newsom, but somebody's like, oh no, spending money on teachers. How many how many Iranian children could we have murdered with that money? It's a good point. It's a really, really good point. This is just California's budget. Amy sent this. So apparently, Newsom's new revised budget says that we will have no deficit, or they will have no deficit this year, next year, and then no structural deficit through July of 2028. Never happened. Okay. I don't know what that means. What do you mean never happened? It did happen. It's right here. We're reading it. I'd like to little fuck you to all you guys who said the United States men's national team sucked and they were going to lose on Friday. Or was that Friday? Yeah, Friday. Little 4-1 win. How about that? Where were those people? I can even look back. Who said it? I think somebody even sent a super chat about that. How dare you? They're playing again this Friday at noon, and I'm not even going to lie. We are not having a show on Friday for that reason. I am going to be watching that. I decided the World Cup comes around every 4 years. It's on Friday, and we have a show, so we're doing it. What do you mean they played no one? They played Paraguay. Look, if you come out of South America and you qualify for the World Cup, you're a good team. They played Paraguay like 6 months ago, and it was a totally different game. I like that, and it's not even nobody. Who did Brazil just tie? Brazil tied Morocco. Somebody said Spain. Who's Spain playing right now? Spain's like tied at half. Spain's the prohibitive favorite. I know that we don't like this president, and I know that we don't like the direction of this country currently, but it's probably the best soccer team we've ever had. Like we have legitimately like good, like Christian Pulisic is probably a top 20 player in the world. Swiss, you guys tied Qatar. Yeah, take that, Swiss. There's a lot of good players. I was thinking about this. I was talking to my friends who, my Republican friends, and they watch soccer about every 4 years. Yeah, Morocco is good. That's true. There's that striker was amazing. I forget his name. But ironically, I think we may have our wars, like our 30-year war in the Middle East, to thank for the amount of good players we have. We have so many members of the armed service stationed all over the world that like half these players weren't born in the United States. They just are United States citizens because their parents were in the military. What I forget how you say it, Balogun. It's our forward that had 2 goals. I think he was born maybe in France. They wanted him to play for France, and he had citizenship in, maybe was it Senegal? I can't remember. There were like 3 different countries he could have played for, and he chose the United States. So our foreign policy sucks, but that's maybe the one bright spot is that we got some good players because our servicemen and women are out breeding all over the world while we invade other people's countries. So congratulations to the United States men's national team and to all of you. And if you're not patriotic about that, then I guess we can still be friends. Let's get things started. This just made me laugh. This is a guy named Grant Stinchfield, and I went and I checked out his Twitter. He is a Trumper, just a deep, deep Trumper. But we spent all this money in the reflecting pool, and it's turning green. And they have decided that since it's turning green, this has to be a conspiracy theory.
Oh man, take a look at this. The reflecting pool's green.
Oh, sorry, real quick. Melissa said my dad forgot to pay for his. Oh, that was before. Did that come in late? Oh, there it is. Jackie said, "Love you, Jen." Oh, Jen, do you have anything to say to that? She's not going to say it back. All right, I'll start this over.
Oh, man. Take a look at this. The reflecting pool's green.
It was supposed to be completely
Black. Yeah.
Black?
When we just saw it,
It's supposed to be
like
blue.
a week ago, it was like crystal clear blue.
all that, yeah.
Crazy.
There's algae in here again. I feel like it's sabotage.
That wouldn't shock me either.
Why is it like this? Because it's gooey at the other end, and we walk this whole thing.
Let me tell you something about at my house. I had a pool. In my old house, I had a pool, and if you fuck up the pH balance and the circulation at all, like at one point, there's like a mechanism that keeps the water circulating, goes through the filter, and it comes back out. If that stops within like 3 days, you have algae. I don't know what happened here. They're obviously not pumping enough water, or maybe the cracks where they were losing all the water is how it was staying clean.
Like,
Yeah, it was
there's
nice
no way
when
that
we
something like
watched
this.
it
And
on
the very
TV a while
opposite
ago.
side is the World War II memorial.
Right.
The water's fine. Why is this? So something happened here.
I mean, they had just literally fixed this.
Obama spent $32 million and it never held water. Trump spends 14 and they go crazy.
They're pumping something.
They're circulating water, bud. Your water is stagnant and it's turning green. And this is just a big conspiracy theory.
Into this. I don't know if it's air or what. And what a shame. Because in the end, after all the work that was done, after as proud as I was of President Trump for finally getting this thing fixed.
We were so proud. It was such a big deal. It was a big campaign promise. We needed the reflecting pool to be fixed. None of us even knew about it, but it was so proud.
We're back to green.
Oh,
And again, is it nefarious? I tend to think so. You wouldn't have so much algae that you see in here. You would not have that quickly.
maybe it was the Green Party. That could be. It could be them. Maybe they're in on it. Is this what's her name? Jill Stein. Maybe she's up to no good.
Unless somebody did something. I'm telling you, I think they want Trump to fail so badly that they'll come out here and do anything.
I think so.
Crazy.
I agree with you.
It's crazy. Although I think he'll get it fixed.
So the good news is,
Who's they? Is he not in charge? Is he not controlling all of this? It was Greenland. It could be Greenland. Could have been Greenland. I didn't think about that.
it's not leaking. That is true. And as the man said, if anybody can get it
Is it true, by the way? Do we know that it's not leaking?
fixed, Trump can. They're trying to
Standing in front of something that is not fixed and be like, only Trump can fix this. And if it doesn't get fixed, it's not his fault. This is like such a good look into the broken minds of MAGA and how now when anything goes wrong, it must be a conspiracy.
get it right for these Freedom 250 celebrations. But what a shame. What a freaking shame.
Electric Dad says you paint a pool bottom black, it attracts heat and grows algae. Is that what it is? Because it's so dark blue? I didn't even think about that. Damn Irish. Yeah, maybe somebody just thought it was St. Patty's Day. They thought they were going to make the reflecting pool green. Maybe it was Conor McGregor. One experienced groundskeeper would fix that. I don't know. I just think it's silly that they turned it into a conspiracy theory. Okay, this is something maybe we ought to look at. Just came across this morning in the UK. If we have any UK people here, shout out to the UK for doing something good for their children. In the United States of America, we just cover up for pedophiles, but in the UK, they're like, we're going to try and help our children not be victims.
Because today is a big moment for our country. This is a big step, real change for our children and our future. Because today, I can announce that the government will ban access to social media for all children under the age of 16. Look, and this is not something I do lightly, and I will not present it as cost-free, as if social media has brought no benefits to young people, because clearly that is wrong. But government is always about choices. And it's clear to me that a full ban is the right choice. Now, I come to it as a parent myself. I know exactly the fears that we all feel when we're thinking about this issue. You know, all I've ever wanted for my own children, hand on heart, is for them to be happy and for them to be safe. And I think that's what any parent wants. But I ask the question now, do we truly believe that social media creates a happy environment for our children? Do we truly believe that it's a place where they can feel safe? I don't think I even need to answer those questions, do I?
I mean, do any of you feel safe
Because
that have children that are on social media? No, I don't. I think, I mean, you got to do something. The world is moving entirely online. That can't be good for humanity. It can't be good for people to live entirely like through their phones. There's no way. I support it too. Looking old and tired. Thanks, Tony. Yeah. I'm a little tired. I am older. I appreciate that though. But then we need the internet for people like Tony. What's up, Tony? What's on your mind today? You just came in hot today. It's good to see you. All right, let's talk about these UFC fights. Let's start first with Harry Enton on some polling. This I found interesting. So I did not catch the fights live last night. I was busy. I watched a lot of them on replay. I thought if you're a fan of the UFC and you're not political and you don't understand any of this, you probably liked it. Like the way that the fighter entrances came through, that was unique. It was something different. It's crazy. Like it came out of like every room in the White House. Came out of the Oval Office. Like they're sitting there like warming up in the Oval Office. The fights were honestly, if you're a UFC fan, they were great fights. I think the UFC probably looks at this like this went well for them, and it might have. It might have gone well for them from a fight fan perspective. I don't know. Like, not that many people, when in the grand scheme of things, look at fights. But before the fights, this is from yesterday. This is what people thought about the White House hosting fights.
Yeah, let's just say this much. They do not like it. They don't like it. I like UMR, but Americans don't find this thing to be appropriate. Take a look here. UFC White House fights are appropriate. Just 16% overall. And among Republicans, even among Republicans, you know, the diehard base Republican Party with Trump through thick and thin, just 31% of Republicans. His approval rating amongst Republicans overall, as you know, usually hovers a little bit north of 80%. So we're talking 50 points lower here. And, you know, this overall, you know, being 16%, you know, what is it, like 28% of Americans, you know, believe in telepathy? So this is even below that.
Does this fall into a broader pattern with the White House in voters' minds?
Yeah, I think this is the big problem here, Omar, which is, you know, Americans just don't think that Donald Trump and this White House is in touch with them because, you know, they put on stuff like that Americans don't really care about. Take a look here. Say the White House.
Is it bad I'm just watching the fights on third-party sites? Yes, you shouldn't do that. It's very bad. Definitely don't do that.
Is out of touch with people like you. 60% overall. We're talking about 3 in 5 Americans. And look among independents. 80% of independents say that the White House is out of touch with people like them. So all of a sudden you have a White House that is potentially putting on events such as this UFC fights. And, you know, Americans' top issue is inflation. And what's Trump's net approval rating on that? Like minus 50? And you go to yourself, okay, appropriate, no on the UFC fights. And then you put it together with what they actually care about. No wonder that the American people say 60% say the White House is out of touch with people like them and 80% of independents.
I mean, I don't know how. I thought a lot of like the outrage of having these fights was maybe warranted, but I thought some people spent way too much time talking about the fact that the White House was hosting a UFC event. What I was thinking about is how it will be remembered in history. And like history is going to view this through the lens of what was happening at this time. Jen said, catching up on Antifa dues. Thank you both. Amber said, my husband is a wastewater expert. Okay, well, you can let us know then. Viewing this through the lens of like historical like a historical telling of the Trump presidency. He's in France today. I think they're in France for the G7, talking about signing a peace deal with the war in Iran, a war that didn't really have any justification, a war that wasted billions of dollars, and at best we're going to get a little bit worse deal than we had before Trump came into office the first time. On top of that, we have this past week, the first trillionaire, which was just an absolute fuck you to everybody who invests in stocks and to every one of your 401ks, whether they make this work or not. It was an unprecedented transfer of wealth to Elon Musk, and now people are going to replicate this. And history is going to look back at this as like late stage capitalism or the right before a crash. And you're going to see, like, this is how it'll be remembered. There was, while Elon Musk was becoming a trillionaire, while we were wrapping up a war in Iran, while Americans' unemployment's going up, inflation's going up, it's harder than ever, at least in my lifetime, for Americans to afford basic things. This is how this will be remembered. And I think it's going to be a footnote of just how out of touch this administration is, and the gap between like the wealthy and everybody else, and their inability to recognize how people feel about that gap. This will be remembered in history as like, I can't believe people watched this during this time and didn't put it together that these people didn't give a fuck about you. The demise of an empire. That's what one of my friends said. He's like, it's just like, it's kind of like the end of the Roman Empire. That's what it feels like. We're doing prize fighting. This is gladiators, except for they're getting paid and using the military. The commercials were fucking pathetic. Like Pete Hegseth was on like every other commercial. It was all about our military can murder people. You look at the canvas. The canvas was Meta. It was Truth Social, which I don't know how Truth Social can pay for advertising at the White House fight. They don't have any money. They don't make any money. It was crypto.com. It was I'm trying to remember. I think Palantir might have been on there too. Like, just looking at the canvas, it was a who's who of multi billionaires at a basically at a private event. All the real fans had to be staged at the Ellipse, watching on a screen. The real fans couldn't be there. You obviously had like the disgusting comment from Josh Hokett about Michelle Obama being a man, which is just gross and pathetic and embarrassing that we just allowed that to happen. There's been no real condemnation from Dana White, who basically was like, I let people say whatever they want to say. It's just, I don't think it wasn't a good look. The fight, as somebody who's a fight fan, like the fights were good, but it just felt gross watching it. You're missing out on what's coming. What's coming, Blendon? What's coming? What are we missing out on that's coming?
It's a big push. Why do you think Trump loves the UFC so much?
Yeah, okay. We've seen Donald Trump go to these UFC fights before, right? We see that there may be UFC fights, on the White House lawn come this weekend. And, it's because the UFC and MMA is a safe space. It is a safe space. It's a nice place. It's warm and lovely for the President of the United States. Party ID league among fans of MMA. Look at this. Republicans hold the lead among MMA fans. Look at that, plus 14. Versus soccer, if he goes to the World Cup, I don't think that's going to be friendly territory for the president. Look at that. Democrats hold the...
They better keep Donald Trump away from the U.S. men's national team this Friday. He better not show up for that game. Is it in Seattle? I think it might be in Seattle.
Party ID lead there of plus 12. And we know that Donald Trump was booed at the Garden. Look at that. Democrats hold a 28-point lead on fans of the NBA.
So Marco Rubio compared the founding of the UFC to landing on the moon.
Yes, he did.
However you feel about that.
Yes.
Did you guys see that clip where Rubio was talking about like the growth of the UFC? It was like, it's just like how the United States landed on the moon. The UFC already existed. Dana White didn't invent the UFC. Dana White just saw that if you regulated it, you could probably make more money from it. That's all he did. Is he took the UFC, he got his rich buddies who owned casinos to buy the UFC, and then they figured out a way to regulate it so that they could actually make money. He didn't reinvent the wheel. It wasn't some sort of miracle. He just convinced people that and what did they do? They changed all the rules. It used to be like any weight class could fight. There were, you can go watch old UFC fights, people punching each other in the balls, kicking them in the head when they're down. There were basically no rules. Some guys are in like a gi, some guys are in wrestling outfits, some people were wearing shoes, knee pads. It was crazy. So he's just like, we probably need some rules in here so that nobody dies, and that's all he did. It's not like getting men on the moon.
Prediction markets viewing his chances as sort of emerging from the 2028 pack.
Yeah, one of the most bizarre comparisons I've ever heard. Chance to be the 2028 GOP president nominee. Look at this. Rubio, Vance, neck and neck. And I think part of Rubio appealing in 2028 will be appealing to those young fans, appealing to those MMA fans. And at this point, look at that. His chances way up. He's really in a dogfight with J.D. Vance for the nomination, according to the Kalshi prediction markets at this point.
All right, we don't care about Kalshi prediction markets that often, but there you go. This was actually kind of crazy, and I don't know what to make from this. So we're just going to talk about it. I don't know what to do about this. So this is Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is a former lightweight champion and heavyweight champion, one of the greatest fighters of all time, and this is Donald Trump's gross son, Eric. Daniel Cormier tweeted this out right before the fights. He said, "I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for bringing this to light. However, I refuse to stay silent. The UFC is a sport that I am deeply passionate about. I will not tolerate this type of insider behavior. Shame on anyone trying to ruin this beautiful event." You can see here from the, I don't know if you can see it or not, but these are allegedly messages from Eric Trump to Daniel Cormier. He said, "Hey, Daniel, I'm going to be attending UFC 250 tomorrow. Saw you were casting. Hope to see you there." Daniel said, "Yo, Eric, didn't expect a DM from you. Excited to meet you and the family. Much love, brother. Anything you can tell me about the fighters tomorrow? Who you got winning? You placed any bets?" "No, I'm actually not allowed to bet on any cards or anything." Eric said, "Are there any fighters injured that you know of?" DC, "I'm not quite sure why you're asking this, but I think they're all in good shape. I'll just cut to the chase. Are any of the fights tomorrow rigged? I've been eyeing the Lopez fight, and I think an upset would be too unrealistic." Which I think, didn't Lopez win? I didn't see that fight. All right. Then this gets deleted. And DC basically, he came out, he's like, "I can't believe anybody believed this shit." I don't think this is real, for the record. I don't think this, I think that DC got hacked. I don't think Eric Trump wrote this, and there's a couple reasons. Number one, like, he's met Daniel Cormier before. So Daniel Cormier saying, like, "Excited to meet you and the family. Much love, brother." I don't believe that they've met before. I don't think Eric Trump would be this brazen. I think he knows the rules. I like to say I'm biased, but I love to watch Bo Nickel. Yeah, that guy's a MAGA guy. I don't think this happened. I think that Daniel Cormier was hacked because this went up for like a couple minutes and then it was taken down. I also don't think Daniel Cormier tweets like this. This doesn't sound like his voice. I don't think any of this happened. I don't think DC and Eric both got hacked. I don't think these messages are real. You could easily fake these messages. There's no confirmation from Eric Trump. I think somebody made these messages. That's how DC talks? I don't think so. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for bringing this to light. I don't think so. And DC is a company, man. I just don't believe that this happened. I think he got hacked. Because later on at night, there were two posted and then deleted, like, scam crypto currency tweets, like meme coin tweets. So I don't think it. I for the record, I don't think this happened. But when I was looking into it, this did make me laugh because Grok, which is part of the reason why SpaceX is supposed to be worth so much money, starts getting involved here. According to Grok, this post never happened. It said DC MMA has not posted or deleted anything like this. Searches of his recent activity show nothing matching. No major MMA outlets or official accounts have reported Israel. It's purely viral on X among meme accounts. DM screenshots are trivial to fabricate. Tools like Photoshop, fake chat generators, or even basic editing. The style looks off in the narrative that Eric Trump is casually asking a commentator about rigging for bets is comically on the nose for engagement bait and the politicized event hype. Except for it did get posted. I don't know, like, Grok is one of the reasons that we have this massive SpaceX IPO. It did get posted, and it did get deleted. And it was posted on Twitter, and everybody's confirmed that it was real. So then you go down here, and you can see. Let me see if I can get the response here. Actually, Rock will tell you that Israel's acting in self-defense. Jesus Christ, the bots will bring anything back to Israel. They're upset about that. But then you can still see here. Yep, still holds. No trace of any such post or deletion from DC MMA. Searches of his feed, major MMA outlets and journalists turn up, nothing. The screenshots match classic fake DM patterns and have zero corroboration. Classic engagement bait. Let me see. I think these have moved now. Is this the right one? Let me see if this is the right one. Scroll down real fast. Then you have Grok. Yeah, here it is. Then you have Grok doing this later. According to Grok, the post is real and deleted. Here's somebody saying, are any of the fights rigged, though? These were comments on the deleted post. You can see the deleted post right here. Any of these fights rigged, though? Grok, did DC delete his post? Grok, yes, DC posted, then quickly deleted screenshots of alleged DMs with Eric Trump. In them, Trump asked about rigged UFC fights. The "Are people really this dumb" post is his reaction to the backlash after people screenshotted the original DM. So Grok just sucks. It's like the 85th best AI. And for some reason, this SpaceX IPO that turned Elon Musk into a trillionaire, despite that we pay for. We just pay for all their rocket launches basically with our taxpayer money. We've created that company with taxpayer money. Somehow Elon gets to be a trillionaire, and all of his stuff sucks. His rockets blow up all the time. His AI is dog shit. He lost half the value of Twitter. That's dog shit. Tesla's in the toilet, and somehow that's the richest man in the world now. I guess he was before, but first trillionaire. Cool. It's crazy that all of this shit is real, right? It's crazy that we're having this discussion right now. Can we pause and just pull back for a second? We're discussing multiple things. Number one, that a mixed martial arts fight took place on the lawn of the White House. And in that mixed martial arts fight, the president, who was there ringside, was wearing a white 47 hat. The white 47 hat is a hat that he sells on his website for his own personal gain. He also bought stock in TKO, who is running this event. The ads are being run by, like, the military paid for ads to be run on this event. So there's more taxpayer money being used as ads. We had military flyovers. Then we had other billionaires giving pep talks and advertising on the canvas, all while we're in the middle of a war, all while Americans are struggling. It is insane that this is like the start of this show. And then we have deleted tweets from a commentator who, by the way, I don't even understand how this happened. DC gets his account hacked. Then he tweeted real things. Then he came out and said, oh, this is all fake. And then he got hacked again later that night. I guess Twitter just like didn't disable his account. And his password must be like password because somebody got back into his account later. I can't believe that this is real life. Sounds like, what am I jealous of? Jealous of what? What am I jealous of? This is weird. Why are you like this, folks? I don't understand any of this. What are we jealous of? You don't think it's never happened before? You don't think that this is strange? You watched that last night and you're like, this is all totally normal. That we're hosting a fight on the White House lawn where the president is making money. Why am I complaining? It's what you do. It's the First Amendment is there for a reason. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press. It's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to hold our government accountable. We're not supposed to just lay back and be cucks. That's the difference, I think, between you and I. If this happened, I don't know what your political leanings are, but I bet there's a scenario where you would also complain about this. Can we just get back to the time when our government did stuff for us? It was badass. Cool, bro. Cool. It was badass. Cost us at least $60 million. It cost us. It's costed us a president who's falling asleep right now while he's over at the G7. It's just weird. America's back. Okay. All right. I think you might not be a very serious person. All right, let's moving on here. Get back to the outline. I tried. Thank you for being here, Nola Jean. I appreciate that, and I hope Nola's going well. All right, let's get to what's happening in Iran. We had Pete Hegseth heading to CBS again. Just another way that like this doesn't feel real. I don't know why the Secretary of Defense is all over TV all the time. I don't know why he's doing Face the Nation. I don't know why he's making commercials. I don't know why he's like doing this reality TV Secretary of Defense thing. But here we are again. He shouldn't be on TV. And he shouldn't be this hyper partisan, but we are. And he went on Face the Nation to continue to lie about stuff that literally anybody who knows anything about this war knows is just an absolute lie. But we're in that era. We're in this era where you can just go on TV and say things that everybody knows are lies, and Trump doesn't lose any support. And we all just go, "What? Why isn't he losing support?" And you're like, Obama, Biden. So this is where we're at. Now we're just going to pretend that this war was made sense. We had control the whole time. We have control now, and there was nothing to see here.
Said, and that'll be our expectation of the Iranians, is that
so
it's
tomorrow
not us that
you'll end the blockade if they sign it
the
today.
problem here. So when it's performance based, Margaret. So we're not going to, unlike Obama, President Trump is smart about these things. He's not going to just.
There it is. What is performance based? What is performance based? Can you guys help me with this? Can you interpret for Pete Hegseth? What does he mean? It's performance based. We control the Strait. If we control the Strait, like they say, performance based on what? Where's NOLA? I scrolled. I was watching TV the other day, and I scrolled on the Truman Show, and I was like, "This feels like the Truman Show." I even had like a little thought while I was walking around cleaning up my house, like, "Am I in the Truman Show? Is it like, am I being punked here? Is there any way this is just a reality show to like fuck with me?" This is crazy. This is the Secretary of Defense, who also, by the way, let's just renamed the Secretary or the Defense Department to the War Department, which isn't real. It's not the War Department. It is still the Defense Department, but they just say it. I can't believe this is real.
President Trump is smart about these things. He's not going to just give it away. So ultimately, the blockade will stay as the Strait opens, and then the blockade will open, and then the Strait's open. And if that takes 30 days to fully mature or 2 weeks to fully mature.
Okay, but you just told us last week the Strait was open. Trump told us last week the Strait was open. So now it's going to take 30 days to open the Strait that is already open. Yeah, performance based on if Iran opens the Strait that is already open. Like, what are we doing here? It's actually really hard to put these outlines together at this point. I don't even know what to say. Every video, the response is just going to be like, "Yeah, that's not true," and everybody knows that's not true. And then MAGA's like, "Yeah, it is," and we're here. I don't honestly know how to respond to any of this stuff. Do anybody else feel that way? Like, I don't know. What do we do here? I almost can't even get mad anymore, because if I get mad, what's that going to change? This is insane that we're here. The Niner Suck says they meant he's a mole on America's back. That's probably what they meant. Just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded. Anything you can do to help us knock out our daily gift goal would be greatly appreciated. We rely entirely on you guys to fund ourselves. So Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Super Chats, and over on TikTok, gifts will keep us from getting taken down. I don't even know that I don't have any more outrage left. It feels like Groundhog's Day at this point. Every day we roll out the show and we're like, the war is still going, the Strait is closed, and then the Trump administration's like, the war is actually done and the Strait is open. It's like, okay, what do we do? I guess we'll just play that video again.
But it will start immediately, as the president has said. And by the way, I think your viewers need to remember, Project Freedom never stopped, and we've run 125 million barrels of oil through the Straits, and Iran couldn't do anything about it.
Did they? We heard about Project Freedom like last Thursday. Is that true? Do we even know if that's true? No, the American people need to remember this thing that we told you about last week that we've provided no evidence of. It definitely happened.
How many ships from Iran have transited our blockade? Zero. We have controlled the Straits this entire time.
Right,
this
but you're going to
MOU
negotiate
will
with them
open
to
immediately and gradually.
reopen it. So, okay, you're saying immediately, but Secretary Rubio had said the U.S. would help to clear mines from the Strait of Hormuz. You just used 30 days as like a period of time. Can you clear the mines and remove the security threats in the Strait within 30 days?
We can do any of those things within 30 days in a permissive environment, so the ball is in Iran's court at some level.
What do you mean in a permissive environment? You control it. Don't tread on me. Can you explain it to me? Where's NOLA? Can somebody please explain any of this to me? in a permissive environment. If you control something, you don't like, you're not waiting for permission from other people. Like the permission, you are the one giving permission. I think MAGA has literally crossed into actual brain damage. It's definitely like a parallel universe. This is incoherent. And it, again, do you get outraged? You just like let it destroy your life? This is insane.
Would get back to pre-war
shipping.
We're
already doing things I can't. We're already doing things I can't talk about on this program, and that to ensure that safe passage happens as quickly as possible. So we're all over this. We know exactly what the dynamics are. Iran probably doesn't, because they can't see and sense their capabilities around the Strait. Especially these last couple nights were very devastating for them as far as their ability to understand what's going through the Strait.
What happened? What's he talking about? Chris, could you, Christopher Felton, why don't you stay on this subject real quick, right? Like we're not playing left versus right now. Like, do we think the left won't fight Israel's wars? Of course they did. We all know that. I don't know if you're new here. This is nonsensical. This doesn't make any sense. Do I think the left will still fight Israel's war? No. I think that ship has sailed. I think that it has been exposed now, and I think most Americans didn't know. I think the everyday American now has a different view of Israel than they did before. But like, what is this? Nobody. Other Republican presidents wouldn't have done this. None of this makes any sense. They just show up and lie. They don't seem to have had a plan. They seem to be surprised by the Strait of Hormuz being closed, and then they're like, actually, we're the ones that closed it. After like a month of them saying, open the straits, and then Iran was like, nah, and then they're like, okay, fine, we're actually the ones that closed it. It was us. We did that.
So if they have capabilities and can do it, great. If not, if international partners who've said they want to step up and contribute, great. But once this deal is signed, our expectation is that Iran will stop shooting, drones at commercial shipping. It's been them shooting at shipping the entire time.
Yeah, they did that just on Friday. And in fact, a drone collided with an Apache helicopter last week. They fired drones into Bahrain. They fired missiles at a U.S. base in Jordan just a few days ago.
All right. Lucian said maybe stay in a broader position as you assess. The minutia is obviously them lying about everything. The solution is an overarching one, 30,000 foot view. What'd you say, Justin? I read that. I didn't know stopping Iran from threatening us with nukes was for Israel. God, all people just reach for anything you can. They never threatened us with a nuke. They didn't have one, Justin. This is the problem. And this is like when you start with something that you can't verify as true, something that there's no evidence of. And when you start with that, where like we're going to be nuked into oblivion, then you're setting yourself up to believe all the other crazy shit. That's not a real thing that happened. They didn't have a nuclear weapon. They got closer after Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear agreement. I always say that because I don't remember the order. Is it JCPOA or JPCOA? I think it's JCPOA. Anyways, that's where we got stuck. We started this war based on a lie, and so that's where the divide happens, and it just went like this. And then those who believed that lie, they're like, okay, now I believe everything the administration says. And the administration just lied and lied and lied and lied and lied, and now we're so far apart that like this is where we're at. You're watching Pete Hegseth obviously lie to you, right, Justin? Like you must know that these are lies. You must know he's sitting here saying like we control the Strait of Hormuz. We've always controlled the Strait of Hormuz. You have to know those are lies. But you already started with this thing like, well, our lives were in danger because of a nuclear weapon, so I'm not going to criticize these lies because I wanted to live. And that's how they get you to believe lies. They make you feel like there's this real threat that's coming your way, and you have to stay with them, and they're the ones that are protecting you. Israel's been screaming about nukes for 20 years. Yeah, more. Probably more. As long as I've been alive, as long as we've been in the Middle East, it's been Israel being like, Iran's about to have a nuclear weapon in 5 minutes. And they never do. All right, then here's Pete Hegseth, who gets caught in an obvious lie here. Gonna snap, kind of what he does. These poor misogynists that have to speak to women. I don't know. I just feel bad for them. Poor guy. Why can't they talk to a man?
About what is going on with U.S. munitions and stockpiles here. Ukraine's President Zelensky was on this program a few weeks ago. He made a plea not just for more interceptors, but for the ability to produce them for friendly governments to be able to produce patriots. Some Republican lawmakers support this idea. Do you?
Nobody makes better and more munitions than the United States of America, and we are open to co-production wherever we can. And because of this administration, we're supercharging our arsenal of freedom, building more.
What the fuck does that mean? This is like tech bro language. We are supercharging our arsenal of freedom. That is so stupid. Like, I'm gonna restart it, but I want to hear the question again. This is so dumb.
Go about what is going on with U.S. munitions and stockpiles here. Ukraine's President Zelensky was on this program a few weeks ago. He made a plea not just for more interceptors, but for the ability to produce them.
Okay, so Zelensky wants to be able to produce the interceptors. He wants to work with the United States so that he can produce his own interceptors. That's the question, right?
For friendly governments to be able to produce Patriots. Some Republican lawmakers support this idea. Do you?
Nobody makes better and more munitions than the United States of America, and we are open to co-production wherever we can. And because of this administration, we're supercharging our arsenal of freedom, building more, building faster, opening up the Pentagon, ripping through the Pentagon bureaucracy to force.
Oh, they're ripping through the bureaucracy. But could you answer the question? Nothing. It all has to be hyperbole.
Industry to move faster. So,
but there
our
crisis.
stockpiles
There
are
is a
strong,
crisis
and
with
they will
those
only get
stockpiles
stronger
right
in the future.
Now. There is a crisis with those stockpiles
no,
right now in private industry.
That is a manufactured story that the media wants to peddle. And ultimately, our stockpiles are great, and they'll only get stronger because of the way this.
Yeah, but we just watched you testify in front of Congress, and you said that our stockpiles have been depleted. Yeah, exactly, my lady Hernandez. He didn't answer the question. He heard munitions, and he went into a practiced answer. There's a script here. At this point, I'm not sure that they ever hear the question. They're so prepared to just answer and obfuscate. But like the first question is, can you work with Ukraine so that they can manufacture their own? And the second question was, like, obviously our munition stockpiles are lower, which he testified to in front of Congress like 2 weeks ago. And now he's like, no, it's not true. It's a fake news media story.
President has.
You
and
testified
if anything,
under oath that it would take years to rebuild those stockpiles.
It was the Biden administration that gave away munitions to the. You don't have to read back to me what I testified. I speculated some munitions take more time than others. We've got lots of them. We're building more than ever before. The Biden administration gave away hundreds of billions to Ukraine, and so President Trump had to refill, and he has.
Yeah, don't read my lies back to me. You don't have to read my words back exactly, Brian. He just admitted it. Like, he lies, and they're like, that's what you said. He's like, yeah, that's what I said, but it's not what I'm saying now. Now he's even admitting it. Like, we don't have to rebuild and grow our stockpiled munitions if they weren't depleted, right?
In real time.
So the answer to Zelensky's request is a no or a yes?
Ultimately, we've worked with them, and Ukraine is buying munitions that Europe pays for. And it's great to see Europe finally step up and pay for those.
Yeah, but they wanted to know if you would work with them so they could manufacture their own. That, just one more time with this answer.
Ultimately, we've worked with them, and Ukraine is buying munitions that Europe pays for. And it's great to see Europe finally step up and pay for those.
Okay. Well, he was asking for the ability to produce, but I'll leave it there for.
All right, so there's Pete Hegseth. Just the thing that's interesting about watching Pete Hegseth is that a lot of these things he doesn't need to be evasive for. Like, he doesn't need to be evasive for any of those answers. All of those answers are already on the record. We're just getting an update. So, and he didn't get criticism really for saying that the stockpiles were lower, and that we needed to stock up again, and we needed to produce more munitions. It's just that he's afraid. He's afraid of answering any question, so he just dodges every question, even innocuous ones like that we already know the answer. We just want to know what you're doing. Like, we already know the problem. You've acknowledged the problem. So when they bring it up on TV that it's a problem, he's like, it's not a problem. But we know. And that's what happens when you take a weekend Fox News host and like, why don't you run our military? I don't want to answer questions. I'm so scared of getting in a gotcha. So he just won't answer questions now. And you can say, maybe that doesn't bother you that he doesn't answer questions, but like, what kind of competence is that? That level of competence is not who I'm comfortable with leading our military. I know there's no, they're trying to get rid of women and gay people and trans people and people of color out of our military. And I know some of you that makes you happy, but like for me, I think somebody competent would be cooler. It's just my thought. All right. Here's the new talking point today. This is JD Vance going on. I think this might have been Face the Nation. Oh no, on CNBC. I've got a couple JD Vance clips. Ironically, I don't like JD Vance has basically been nowhere. He doesn't seem like he was that involved with the negotiations, and now suddenly JD Vance is the spokesperson. Here he is on CNBC rolling out the new talking point that actually, like, we're good friends with Iran. This is all going super well.
Well, I think the best outcome is a good deal for the American people, which we have. Fundamentally, we're dealing with everybody in the Iranian system. You know, there's the IRGC, the sort of regime hardliners, the military side. There's the political leadership, and within the political leadership, you have people who are more hardline and less hardline. We expect to have a full spectrum of representatives at the negotiation on Friday. Again, we've been talking to these people, sometimes indirectly, but sometimes directly, and that's what's fundamentally changed under the president's leadership. We are now speaking directly to the Iranian system. We have...
Okay, I want to talk about that. They're trotting this out as a win. Like, we didn't used to communicate directly with the Iranians, and now we are, and that's why Trump's such a good leader. I think maybe they're communicating directly with you because you're bombing them. I think perhaps you weren't communicating directly with them because we weren't at war with them. And there was no reason for them really even to directly communicate with you. You pulled out of the agreement that you had together. You're like, we're not going to honor this agreement anymore. So what are they going to say? They're just going to keep talking to you? They're negotiating with you because you're bombing them. That's not leadership. That's just being a bully. They talk about this like it's such effective leadership. In what other way is it, like, in any other scenario, is this good leadership? That people are now talking to you because you've crippled them? Because you've made their life such a fucking nightmare that now they talk to you? That's good leadership?
Some good relationships there. So this is going to be a successful negotiation because, you know, we're not passing messages through various back channels anymore. We're actually talking to them. And when you talk to them, you figure out what's real, what's fake, what are they serious about, what are they not serious about. And the thing I'd add to that is we fundamentally have all the cards here. We don't have to give the Iranians anything if they don't make the commitments that we want long-term on the...
What cards do we have? Are you just saying like we can nuke them? Is that what it means? We have all the cards. Like in that case, we kind of hold all the cards over every country. Is that? And again, yeah. Remember when they posted that picture of Trump holding all the cards and they were Uno cards? This has been a colossal nightmare.
Nuclear program, and even if we just stopped here, what would be true? Their military is destroyed. The Straits of Hormuz are open. Their nuclear program has been destroyed. And we have incredible economic leverage over them that we didn't have a year and a half ago. So we've got a lot of leverage here.
What's the economic leverage we have now that we didn't have before? We've had sanctions on them forever. I'm not sure what they're talking about here. Does anybody know? What am I missing there? What's the new economic leverage that we have? I guess it's just that we have military vessels in the Strait. Is that the economic leverage that he's talking about? That sounds like military leverage. You go to Iran, JD Vance. Yeah, that'd be nice.
We also have the president saying to them, we're extending an open hand. If you guys want to meet us, if you guys want to change your relationship with the United States, we will change our relationship with Iran. That's the offer, and we're going to have to see whether they meet it.
Here's an olive branch. Sorry about murdering thousands of innocent people. Sorry about that school we bombed, but why don't we just shake hands on it, and we'll help you out. We're here for you. The Iranians are saying that they're going to have access to a $300 billion reconstruction fund. That's been reported multiple times. The administration's answers on this have been back and forth, but here's JD Vance being asked about that this morning.
Walk through some of this. The Iranians are saying that they're going to have access to a $300 billion reconstruction fund. True or false?
Well, Ed, that's the sort of thing they could have access to, funded by the Gulf Coast Coalition, so long as they honor their end of the obligation. I think that one of the things you're going to see, Ed, and people have to be skeptical of this, is that the hardliners in the Iranian system will overemphasize the benefits that Iran gets while underemphasizing all the things that they have to concede and all the things they have to provide in order to get these benefits. So we absolutely are open.
What do they have to concede? Somebody just said that the deal was signed. Is that true? If it is, Jen, will you see if we have the details of that deal anywhere? I mean, we've been waiting for that to figure out what they're talking about. So if any of you have seen that, I read somebody say seed. Like what are these concessions?
They have to concede
Not signed?
and all the things they have to provide in order to get these benefits. So we absolutely are open to the Gulf Coast countries investing in the reconstruction of Iran, but only if Iran ends their nuclear program, ends their enriched stockpile of material, and is really open to an inspections and enforcement regime that gives the American people.
Okay, so that sounds like they're going to join the Abraham Accords, is what it sounds like. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be Friday. The MOU will be released in a few days. I just read this. That's what Marshmallow's saying. This sounds like they're going to force them to join the Abraham Accords, and that the United States is now going to force Gulf Coast countries to invest in Iran, which is what the Abraham Accords were, not a peace deal, but a business agreement. So this sounds like... Now it sounds like what we did is we used our military to leverage more money going in, like more investment money in the Middle East. That's what it seems like to me. Seems like potentially Trump and all the people who've been giving him money were just like, yeah, use the United States military, decimate Iran, and then we'll go in there and we'll invest. It's a long-term strategy. That's what it sounds like to me. Doesn't it sound that? Does anybody else, MAGA, are you guys here? Does it sound different to you? I think that's the most like generous interpretation of what they're saying there. Left will instantly destroy this country's middle class. The second thing. Shut up, Christopher. Shut up. Jen, are you there?
I'm not seeing any details. It's just the things that I'm seeing is that Trump confirms all deals signed. Something in the Washington Post that said U.S. and Iran. I don't see any details. It's just saying that it's been reached, but no specifics.
Okay. All right. Well, when we went live, it was supposed to be later this week, so that makes sense. Kyiv Post leaked the supposed deal. Will you look at that, Jen? See if their Kyiv Post posted the deal.
Confidence they're never going to have a nuclear weapon. So I think the dance you're going to see, Ed, which is going to be interesting, is the Iranian media, especially the hardline media. They're going to talk a lot about what they get without talking about what they give. It's important for all of us to correct that record.
So they're going to do exactly what you did. Yeah, probably. I don't think that's a revelation that they're going to try and spin this. But isn't that what you're doing? I don't know how we spin this into a victory. I don't know how we spin this into like this made sense. Here was Mark Warner asked about a possible peace deal here, and you're seeing this. I only show this because I think that this is a measured response by Mark Warner, and I think that Democrats, as they're out campaigning, they need to keep this in mind. What the administration wants to do, and the reason that we're seeing this ceasefire now is because it's killing them. And they're looking at the midterms, and they're looking at the price of oil. They're looking at the price of groceries, and they're watching their support just fall apart. And so what they need is gas prices to come back down. Whether grocery prices return or not, what they're going to do now is they're going to come out and they're going to be like, look, we're done with this war in Iran. Like there might be some lingering effects, but look, we're going to bring gas prices down. It was temporary, just like we said. It wasn't 2 weeks. It was months and months and months. But that's the whole reason this is happening now. And Iran's the one that had that leverage. Think about what J.D. Vance is saying that we may get out of this. The Strait of Hormuz will be reopened. It was already open. So we already had that. Iran will commit to not having a nuclear weapon. They've done that multiple times, and they didn't have a nuclear weapon. And then they're saying like it'll open up like economic relationships between them and the other Gulf states. Well, that's a win for Iran. It's weird to hear this administration spin like reducing regulations as a win for the administration. That helps Iran. They're saying that they may get access to this $300 billion fund. Some of that's going to come directly from the United States. Iran's going to be able to open up their economy to other countries. The Strait is going to be reopened, which it already was. And Iran's not going to have nuclear weapons, and they didn't have nuclear weapons. So what's the win here? Just think about how cure got turned into lifetime treatment, and you know how that's deep or some big pharma shit. Sorry, I thought you were talking about this.
As you heard from the secretary, a lot of these very important details have to still be negotiated. What do you think, though, of the emerging ceasefire and agreement? Because you favored diplomacy.
Listen, if the president can declare victory, so be it. You heard Pete Hegseth's pitch. Let's look at the real facts.
Let's look at the real facts. And just a reminder, this is a little bit longer video. We are crowdfunded. Anything you guys can do to help us knock out our daily gift goal would be greatly appreciated. We use Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. That's our preference because they take less of a percentage, or Super Chat. If we did a dollar train right now, we could knock that out. And welcome to everybody here that's new. If you don't know, we don't get ad revenue from Twitch. We barely get any from YouTube. Obviously, TikTok, we don't as well. We don't take sponsors, so we just rely on your generosity to keep this going. And we also have paid memberships on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. If you want to join us for members-only events, or if you just want to do that to support our journalism, that would be greatly appreciated. But welcome everybody new, and to everybody old, welcome back.
107 days into Donald Trump's war of choice. Can anyone make the case that we or our allies are in better spot than before this war? The regime's leadership is more radical than ever. The ability for us to get the enriched uranium out, I believe, will require troops on the ground, which I don't think America wants to do. The idea that we have a 60-day additional negotiation, where does that lead? We'll be here 60 days, still won't have access to it. Clearly, after Hegseth had said, we've destroyed all their capabilities, they still have plenty of missiles and thousands of drones. And the idea that the strait is suddenly going to be magically reopened, look at the gas prices. They went from $2.80 to $4.20. And I believe they'll go up more because the overall world reserves have all come down. How is that better for America or better for our allies?
Well, there are a lot of details in here that, like I said, still have to be negotiated. And when we look at Congress's role in terms of peeling back some of these sanctions, this was hugely controversial during the Obama administration. Do you think ultimately that whatever is hammered out by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and J.D. Vance, the vice president, will come up for approval? Do you get any say?
Well, first of all, the idea that these three gentlemen that have very little background in terms...
No background. The people negotiating this in terms of Jared Kushner, they can't even get security clearance. I don't... why is Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and J.D. Vance the ones that are negotiating this? You think they're going to... You guys really trust that they're going to get the better end of this deal? They're making a fortune here. That's all they're looking at. Is they're looking at the Middle East, where they're heavily invested, and they're trying to figure out a way to protect their investments and perhaps increase their investments.
Of negotiations, or the technical nature of nuclear negotiations, going against a hardened Iranian team.
Let me do this real quick. John, let's stop talking about gas prices for a second. Let me just explain this. Gas prices go up, gas prices go down based on supply and demand most of the time. There is some market manipulation. Under the Biden administration, those prices went up. Why? Why did the prices go up? Because the economy reopened after COVID, global supply chains had been shut down, people stopped producing oil, and there was suddenly this massive increase of demand, and you didn't have the supply to keep up with it, and so gas prices went up. And literally, John, not one single Democrat on earth applauded that. Nobody did. Nobody celebrated it. It was the thing that everybody talked about. The gas was too expensive. So much so that Biden then went into our strategic reserves and put those out on the market to try and bring the supply up to meet the demand and bring prices down, which it did. Okay, so the difference between the way that you're looking at this and the way that perhaps you should look at this is who caused it? Was it self-inflicted? Why are gas prices high right now? It's because we chose a war of choice with Iran. And who made that decision? It wasn't Democrats. It wasn't even Republicans. They bypassed Congress. It was literally Donald Trump on his own with the backing of and maybe the cheerleading from Bibi Netanyahu. And they drove us into this war. And that caused the prices to go up. And it takes a very small brain or a very closed mind to have the audacity to be like, oh, well, you could Biden. No other president did this. This is the only president that did this. You have to go out of your way to not understand how economics work, not understand how global supply works for oil and what that global supply does to the markets. You're playing like dumb politics. You're playing third grade politics. Because you're not going to teach a third grader about supply and demand, and that's where you're at right now. But it is incredibly stupid to make an argument that this is the same as why gas prices went up under Biden. Get out of that binary, that duopoly, and start seeing things for what they are and how they were caused. There was no causation of the gas shortage by Joe Biden. None. There was from Donald Trump in this term. And you can make an argument that Donald Trump suppressed oil supply during his first term as well to keep gas prices artificially high. They were going to go too low, and some of these oil companies were going to lose money, and Trump obviously he's taking their money. So he's like, no, I'm going to step in and I'm going to make sure prices stay high. He cut a deal with OPEC. But if you're coming in here with that argument, like you should try a different place. This isn't a place for you. But I would recommend you stay here and learn some new things. And then you can assess what's happening without the red lenses or the blue lenses. This is stupid. It doesn't matter what party, Republicans are saying this is stupid. They've been saying it's stupid. You won't find a single Republican testifying in front of Congress that's like, oh, this is exactly the same as Joe Biden, because it's not. It's just a knee-jerk reaction to defend Donald Trump.
It's been doing this for decades. I wish we had some of our experts.
Look through the liberal lens to see. This isn't a liberal lens. See, that's the point, Sweet Kicker. I'm not looking through it, unless by liberal lens you mean education. Unless by liberal lens you mean studying economics. And then in which case, yes. Then that is a liberal lens. But that's what happened. I'm literally telling you what happened. COVID started under Donald Trump. So certainly you can't blame Joe Biden for that. The shutdowns all across the world happened under Donald Trump. And Trump shouldn't be blamed for that either, for the record. But certainly you can't blame Joe Biden for that. And when Joe Biden got in office and the world's economies reopened and gas prices went up, he took direct action to bring the price down. That is not a liberal lens. That is legitimately reality. And if you want to have good things, you want to stop letting our governments jerk us around like this, at some point you're going to have to say, you know what, maybe Donald Trump screwed up here. Or if you don't think he screwed up, at least own it. You can't say this war made sense, we needed to do this war, and then also say, oh, the gas prices weren't his fault. You can't have both. You can't say that he drug us into this war on his own, and then also say none of the side effects are his fault. You can't do both of those things. Unless you're MAGA, in which case I guess you just do whatever you want.
At the table as well. But I'm not sure any of this will become before Congress. And it should. I mean, if the president wanted to start this...
Mute Johnny B for 5 minutes for asking, what is a woman? That's not even close, bud.
A war of choice. There was no imminent threat from Iran. Come to the Congress, come to the people and lay out the case. He has not. And we have not done the kind of oversight that is required.
Yeah.
We are slowly moving along and getting additional Republicans to say, stop on the War Powers Act. But Congress has failed miserably.
Yeah, Burned Out said, Trump got us exactly what Obama got us. Big win. He didn't even, though. He doesn't even have that done yet. He doesn't even have a deal on the table yet, or that's signed yet. And time will tell. We'll see how many concessions we have to give to Iran. I don't think that there's a scenario where when we compare the Iran nuclear agreement signed by Obama versus Trump, I don't think that you're going to, if you just went side by side and took the names off, I don't think anybody's going to look at Trump's new agreement and say this was better than Obama's. We'll see. It would be great to be surprised by that. But based on what they're saying, it doesn't appear that they're going to get anything better than what Obama had. Natalie said, thank you for all the hard work. Thank you, Natalie, for all the hard viewership. Appreciate that.
Before I move on to other things, I just want to put a fine point on the U.S. intelligence assessment was not that Iran was creating a nuclear weapon, but that they wanted the possibility to make one in the future. Given what they have, the nuclear dust, the dirty bomb in the desert scenario, does that still worry you? How concerned should Americans be?
Yes, I'm still worried. And, for all his critique of JCPOA, we had international observers. We actually had an alliance there that included the Europeans, and Russia and China were all signatories. Now it is America going alone, or going with Israel only. And that does not make us safer. And again, I will be happy to come back on the show and eat my words if the Iranians over the next 60 days give up that enriched uranium.
That's a good point there. What exactly is your argument for Iran to not to have a nuke? Israel has them, but they seem like the peaceful bunch to you? Yeah, exactly. We're not going to do anything about Israel. Israel attacks first. We've seen that. If I was Iran, I've said this a million times, but and I think any of you, if you were the leader of Iran, you would get nuclear weapons. Or at least you would position yourself and posture yourself as we are developing nuclear weapons. We're going to do that so that we to try and keep people afraid. What was your question, Darius? Let me look. They didn't have nuclear material? What? Of course they had nuclear material. They were enriching their, you mean like enriched uranium? Is that what you mean, Darius? Of course they did. Nobody has ever made the argument that they didn't have enriched uranium. Yeah. Does that answer it? Oh, guys, yeah. Israel's not maniacs. They don't have Hezbollah in the corner. Yeah, for sure. Israel's not maniacs. They just did a fucking genocide. They're still doing a genocide. Darius, if Israel are not maniacs, what are they doing in Lebanon right now? Why did they invade Lebanon? Why is Israel saying they're not going to give that land back? Why are they occupying the West Bank as well? You can't still be a person who's like, Israel's not crazy, Iran is crazy. I mean, did Iran bomb Israel? Did they bomb the United States or did we bomb them? Seems like we did it. 2 genocides at once, yeah. Israel has the unredacted Epstein files. Well, yeah, they seem, yeah, almost certainly. 3 genocide? Who's the third? Oh, yeah, 3, yeah. Yeah, but Israel's the good guys. All right. This was crazy. Barack Ravid has been having conversation. Wait, is this the right one? Oh shit! Hold on, wrong one. Barack Ravid has been having conversation with Donald Trump, which is cool. Donald Trump talks to a lot of reporters. This was really interesting. For whoever that person was, just barely talking about how great Israel is. It seems like Donald Trump's also not happy with Israel. Israel doesn't seem to be on board with this ceasefire, which should tell you everything you need to know.
That in 2 separate calls he also had yesterday with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, he mentioned to them how difficult Netanyahu is and how he's taking steps that are creating problems to his effort to reach a deal with Iran. And one of the things Trump told me is that he thinks that Netanyahu has no effing judgment. He used the F word, I think, 3 times during our call in the context of what Netanyahu did when he ordered the strike in Beirut. And I think that Netanyahu heard directly from Trump later on that day when they spoke, and Trump made it clear to him that this needs to stop.
What was that? How many inspections did the IEA have of nuclear plants in Iran, and why did Iran move the nuclear plants underground? Can you explain that? I don't know if we know the total number. There was an inspector general's report, or maybe it wasn't inspector. Who did the report? Let me see real quick. I think I have it. That said only a few of the 13 sites had been inspected. That was, let's see here. According to Al Jazeera, from 2025. This is 2025. Oh, never mind. That's the wrong one. Let me go back here. Let me get the right dates. You sent some photos of some of the deal to Jen? Okay, thank you. I don't see a total number here, but they had 24/7 electronic monitoring and regular access to all of Iran's known nuclear facilities. There's some intelligence, and that comes from Israel mostly, which is hard to verify. There's some evidence that obviously they had underground nuclear facilities. As far as like why did they bury their nuclear facilities? So that the United States wouldn't bomb them or the Israelis wouldn't bomb them. That's probably why. It seems like they were right to do that. Right? They were just underground nuclear facilities. You had monthly checks on all their HEU stockpiles. It says USIP's timeline notes that in August 2018, the IAEA reported Iranian compliance and was able to carry out all inspections under the deal. And I think that was the last discussion before Trump pulled us out of that agreement. Do you have something specific? But again, like, that deal was in place. It allowed us some. And this is a silly Republican argument. I don't know if you're a Republican. I apologize if I am, but it's the argument Republicans are using. It's silly, like to say that they didn't keep the deal entirely, so we should rip it up and have absolutely no oversight. Is stupid. Iran would not allow surprise inspections. We had 24/7 electronic monitoring. Do you have a source on that, Ashley? But even if that was true, even if Iran didn't allow surprise inspections, is that a reason for us to then rip up the entire agreement? No, because that forced Iran's hand. Then Iran's like, all right, well, we have no protection against Israel. We were their protection against Israel. We were that buffer. So then what's Iran going to do? Everybody said it. When Trump got out of the deal, everybody said Iran is now going to develop and enrich their uranium. They're going to develop a bigger weapons program, and they're going to enrich their uranium. And what did they do immediately? They started building ICBMs. They massively increased their production of ICBMs and enriched uranium. It was the most predictable thing on earth. What you're doing is you're arguing technicalities to blame, to like justify what Trump's doing. Do you think Iran is going to, like, that they're going to have a better deal than this, that we're just going to be able to surprise show up? If that's what you think they were doing before, you think the same Iranian government isn't going to do the exact same thing? Yes, there were parts of the agreement that Iran wasn't fully cooperating with. But again, the IAEA reported in August of 2018, the people that do the oversight said that they were able to carry out all inspections under the deal. Do you have anything that refutes that? Or is it just you've heard? Is there a source you would like me to look up there? Why? Yeah, that's actually a great point there. Who said that? Where did that go? Dennis, most of the world doesn't agree with the U.S. Now the U.S. looks like the meme with the guy in the Nazi uniform asking, are we the bad guys? Yeah, like, how come nobody else, it's just like us and Israel, we're the only ones that seem to agree on this. Everybody else is like, nah. Keith, we know not to ask you for a source. You don't have sources. If they were not enriching past the agreed enrichment, then they wouldn't have had to have the nuclear plants underground. No, Ashley, you need a source on that. If they were not enriching past the agreed enrichment, then do you have any source that says that they were enriching uranium past the, was it 3.8 or 3.6%? 3.67? Thank you, Labo. So the IAEA consistently verified Iran was following the JCPOA, and Iran was only enriching to the limit set to 3.67%, and they were destroying many centrifuge caps and was limiting stockpiles of heavy water. What you're citing right now of why they're going underground, like, this is just, like, I shouldn't work on you. That shouldn't be enough evidence for you to say, like, let's go murder innocent Iranians. But apparently it was. That sounds an awful lot like Israeli propaganda to me, because like most Israeli propaganda, there's never a source. It's always, trust me. We actually have the evidence, but we're not going to show you because we're Israel and we don't have to say shit. That's what it seems like. Yeah, I'm responding to the YouTube chat right now for those that are on TikTok and Twitch. All right, here's the screenshots of what this deal looks like. Hop over here. Open with no tolls. Iran wants. Okay. So we don't even agree. Great. U.S. wants the Strait of Hormuz open with no tolls. Iran says they want fees regulated by Iran and Oman. U.S. says no money will exchange hands. I don't know where they're getting that idea. Like, the U.S. is Marco Rubio just said some will. Iran says they want $300 billion in reparation money, $25 billion unfrozen. That was kind of confirmed last week. I don't know why we're saying this is the problem. Like, people inside this administration are saying different things. I just showed you the video of JD Vance saying that the $300 billion was possible, but it would come through the other Gulf states. Highly enriched uranium. U.S. says they'll control the nuclear dust. I don't know how. Iran says that they'll dilute the material in country. When it comes to Lebanon, Israel says they're not going to withdraw. Iran says the end of the war in Iran has to coincide with the end of the war in Lebanon. This doesn't look like we're getting a great deal. This doesn't look like we're going to have a deal signed. Hope I'm wrong. Wait, what's this? This is the evolving White House rationale, self-defense by eliminating. Oh yeah, this is who we're talking about. This is MAGA in the chat. Self-defense by eliminating imminent threats that they can't tell us. But remember also, and maybe you could help us with this, Republicans that are here. Why is it that we don't know what the imminent threat is? Why do we still not know what caused this war? What was the threat that was imminent that could actually reach us? So we're close? I don't know. Destroy Iran's nuclear program, freedom for Iranian people. Yeah. Destroy Iran's. I don't know why we needed that one, to be honest. Let's see what else here. Okay, those are all the same ones. So here's the preliminary deal. It is believed that all attacks will end, that we reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which is open. Trump told us last week it was open. Christopher, you want to answer that? Why did Trump say it was open last week? End U.S. blockade of Iranian ports, 60-day negotiation period, unfreezing Iranian funds, set stage for nuclear talks. If these don't go well, what's Iran going to do? If we have a 60-day negotiation period and it doesn't go well, what's Iran going to do? They're going to restart the war because they know that will likely be the end of Donald Trump. And they'll just say, we'll take our chances. Maybe depending on how the election goes, like maybe they'll impeach and remove Donald Trump and we'll deal with J.D. Vance. Maybe they feel like they'd rather deal with J.D. Vance. If I was Iran, I'd probably rather deal with J.D. Vance. I don't think J.D. Vance would be sending Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff to make these negotiations. As an American who can't stand this administration, I would much rather J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio be negotiating this deal. I don't, for the life of me, I can't figure out why the fuck Marco Rubio's not involved. I would have liked to see Tulsi Gabbard in there. I would like to see somebody who hates regime change war in there. I would like to see anybody with any experience negotiating this. But for some reason, the Trump administration has chosen people exclusively with no experience. So yeah, I mean, that's what I would do if I was Iran. If I didn't get what I wanted after 60 days, I'd be like, fine, we'll wait you out. Question is, who's getting rich with the strait closed? I mean, oil companies, I guess. Yeah, that's a good question. Our oil companies certainly are making more money because they get to sell their oil at higher prices. They're getting rich. I've been saying Vance is the next president, will be president indefinitely. He's the king everyone is talking about. Oh, that would suck. What a fucking low energy king. That would suck. J.D. Vance just trotting out there. Guys, Republicans, can you please not vote for J.D. Vance? When it comes time to pick your next nominee, can you not choose J.D. Vance, please? I don't have the stomach for J.D. Vance. It's too easy. And nobody's going to respect that guy. You can't be like Donald Trump's cuck forever. You can't be the guy who warned everybody about Trump and then was like, never mind, he's actually a good guy. And then you play cleanup. You should probably take somebody outside of this administration. Am I stupid? Restart war with what? What do you mean restart war with what? If you don't agree, then the United States has to restart the war, right? If you just don't sign, then what's the United States going to do? You keep the strait closed, or you close the strait again. Look, if Wojtek, if the United States had as much leverage as you think, if we really have absolutely decimated their navy and we've decimated their military and we've decimated their ability to close the strait, then what the fuck are we negotiating then? If we have all of this leverage and they don't have anything, then why are we negotiating? We wouldn't be, right? They obviously have leverage. You got to think these things through. They wouldn't be negotiating if we just got what we want. You said Iran will restart the war. Yeah, and he said restart the war with what? I agree. They'll restart the war by closing the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, and then call the U.S.'s bluff. Then what's the U.S. going to do? Are they going to start attacking again? You put Trump. That's what I would do if I was them. I would put Trump in that position. What are you going to do if Trump's such an egomaniac? Like if he doesn't restart, if he doesn't start bombing again, then everybody's going to be like, see, this war made no sense from the start. And if he does, then everybody's going to be pissed because we're in this stupid war and everybody will know that the only reason that we're bombing again is for Trump's ego. It's easy for Iran. Like, yes, Iran's up against the United States, but what Iran understands very well is the people of the United States and our appetite to continue to endure these types of prices. We don't have that appetite. Like people will turn once it's everybody's wallets, they will turn on Trump. Iran has a lot of leverage. It's silly to pretend that they don't, just to flex like, oh, Donald Trump's the greatest. They have a ton of leverage. Yes, it's true that we could just nuke them, but they don't think we're going to. Nobody thinks we're going to nuke them. Nobody thinks that we're going to do a ground invasion. And if we do a ground invasion, it's going to be deeply, deeply unpopular. It's something that Donald Trump can't survive. He doesn't have the support of Congress to do a ground invasion. And he doesn't have the support of Congress to continue this war anyways. There is a ton of leverage there. This isn't like a Democrat versus Republican thing. This is just reality. Our gas has gone down 50 cents. Terrific. It's great. But if we kick this off, it won't. And that's speculation, by the way. That's not even supply and demand. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how long these prices take to return to normal. I've seen a lot of projections that say we're 2 years out from returning to normal. You fact checked me in real time on what, Christopher? You might not know what fact checking means. You don't have any comments up here with any fact checks, Christopher. What was it? You're an idiot. There goes your theory. Oh, okay. What goes by? Oh, because the gas went down 50 cents. Ours is back to normal. Okay, let's look at gas prices. Where do you live, Paula? Can you tell us what state you live in? We can pull it up by your state. Or did you, when you said it's back to normal, you meant across the country? Let's take a look at this. All right, Trump took office here. 2025 was 307. It was under $3 at the start of the year. It's at 4.20 now. It was up from went up to 4.47. What's the average price of gas today? Mr. Global told us this drop would happen before it goes back up. Okay, that's Arizona. National average is 406. Okay, so it was 290 and it's 406 now on average. Hasn't come down 50 cents. It's come down about 40 cents. So that was wrong, right? Was that the fact check in real time that you got me with? Cool. All right, moving on. Appreciate you guys being here, though. It's always nice to have MAGA here in the chat. It helps us figure out how the fuck you guys have gotten to this position where you're still supporting these guys. And then just a reminder, let's grift a little bit. We are entirely crowdfunded. We rely on your generosity to keep the lights on here. So if you can help us achieve our fundraising goals every day, that'd be greatly appreciated. Aaron, thank you. And Aaron for the $25 over on PayPal. Appreciate that very much. You too can join in and support us. PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, as well as Super Chats and on TikTok with gifts. Julie said, I don't see a comment there. Note that. And then Missa said, happy you're back again. You must be on TikTok. Yeah, we were banned from TikTok for a week, which was fun. And we're back today. So appreciate you saying that. I think I got all of those. Oh, those are dolphins. Okay. Thank you, Dolphin, for all those pictures, by the way. Appreciate them. Okay, what was the last one? That was Barack. The last thing I showed you was Barack Ravid, right? I think that's correct. All right, let's go here. This is Mark Stone. I thought this was a really good breakdown. He is a U.S. correspondent. Here he was on, I think this is Sky News. I might be wrong about that, but I think this is Sky News, explaining the reach of this deal. And I think that's like the response. We'll have a better understanding of the response later today as Trump gets to the G7. We know that the response from the G7 countries has largely been, we're not going to help you with this. We don't want to be involved with this. We know that there's a lot of friction between the United States and everybody, including now Israel. We've abandoned basically all of our allies for this unjust war. It'll be interesting. We'll know more tomorrow, but I thought this was a good breakdown.
I mean, maybe I'm a bit of a pessimist, but I mean, to start with, we've been here before, almost exactly the same position. April the 8th, I think it was, where President Trump was presenting a deal. In that instance, J.D. Vance even flew to Islamabad, and there was a meeting, but it didn't go anywhere. I mean, the ceasefire kind of just held. But in the space that they created back in April, the space that we've been now living through, where they were supposed to tie up the knotty issue like the nuclear challenge, the fact that Iran feels it has the right to be able to enrich uranium, they never managed to do any of that. So all they have actually managed to do with this latest deal, which, by the way, is yet to be signed, was due at one stage, they were talking about signing.
That's a good point, Christopher. They didn't have a navy. We didn't decimate their military. That's a good point. Casey, also another good point. It depends on if this depends on Israel complying. It's not happening. Yeah, Israel doesn't want this to be over.
This weekend just gone, and yet they haven't. Now they're saying it won't be signed till Friday. That's actually quite a long time away. Plenty of jeopardy in the meantime. All they've managed to do with this deal is to get things back to the position they were in before Trump decided to do what he did in Iran, and that is to open the Strait of Hormuz.
Now, we argue this back and forth here in America, Republicans and Democrats, left and right. We argue this, but the rest of the world doesn't argue this. The rest of the world, who has no dog in this fight politically, recognizes the truth here. Is that what we're saying we want to get is we want to get back to the deal that we had before. Everything Trump is saying, everything Republicans in this chat are saying, the things that they think we're going to accomplish with this ceasefire and hopefully a negotiated deal, everything they're talking about already existed and Trump withdrew from it. That's how the whole world sees this. That's why there's no support for this war outside of MAGA and like across the world. Even those other Gulf state countries, they don't support this. They're very upset. They're pushing hard against Trump. Like, you got to stop this shit because they're being bombed. They didn't do anything. They've worked with the United States and they've allowed military bases and forwarding bases in their countries for decades now. And now those forwarding bases are being hit, but also people who aren't part of the military are being hit and people are dying. And they're like, hey, we're not doing this shit anymore. Like, you ripped up the agreement and you're saying you want that same agreement back. Get the agreement back then. Go do it. This could all be, and it could all be that simple. Trump could have just been like, I shouldn't have ripped that up. We'll re-sign that agreement. No war is necessary. That's like, hindsight's 2020, sure. But looking back, can we at least agree with that, Republicans, that maybe Trump should have just negotiated this before? Iran was willing. The Omanis confirmed this. And the Qataris confirmed this. In negotiations before we started this war, the other countries that were involved in the negotiations both confirmed that Iran said, we will pledge to not have a nuclear weapon. They were on board with that. They weren't saying, come and get us. They weren't shaking their ass going, yeah. They said, like, we won't have a nuclear weapon. We'll agree to that. We're fine with that. They don't want that. And it's like, history tells us, and I think that Iran has a good history with this, they don't want nuclear weapons. They don't want to start a nuclear war. They just need to be protected against Israel. And every time we've given them protection against Israel, they have complied. Maybe not entirely, but they have complied. So that's the position we're in, and the rest of the world. And this is why the G7 is going to be tough, because everybody's just pushing the United States to, hey, just get this fucking thing done. Go back to the old deal. We all see this for what it is. You fucked up. We understand you got to save face politically, but can you get this done? Do whatever you got to do. And they're all going to play nice with Trump over the G7 as much as they possibly can. And they're going to do their best not to pile on so that Trump can be like, see, there's like a middle ground here. But the reality is the whole world knows Donald Trump fucked up. And that at best, he's going to get the same agreement he had before.
The Strait of Hormuz was not an issue before President Trump embarked on, as he calls it, this excursion in Iran. So in that sense, this really is, I mean, it's good news in that things are going in the right direction, but it's not the beginning of the end. It's the end of the very beginning of a very difficult process if Trump is to achieve any of the aims that he set out to achieve. That is the...
Thanks, Betsy, for $10 for the Griff goal.
I mean, regime change is clearly off the table now. He is about to make a deal with the very people who he said he was going to kick out. And actually, they're probably harder line now than they were then. But the nuclear material, well, that's still in Iran. Its capability, its its know-how, its knowledge, all of that's still intact. And those are the things that they're going to discuss once they've signed this deal. So if you look at it like that, it's really it's not that great. Although clearly for those ships in the Strait of Hormuz, it's the beginning of positive noises. But it's all about confidence as well. The confidence of the shipping companies, the confidence of the insurance companies to allow things to move again. And none of that will happen until...
Patriot Prospecting, just a question. Who has been, you said Iran has been screaming death to America since 1979. Who? Just give me a name. Give me a name of somebody that was running the country or had high up in the country that was screaming death to America. We'll wait.
The confidence is there, and until the deal is signed.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, I think in terms of the long-term review of whether this was a successful war or not, there's plenty still to be discussed and said and questioned, I guess, is the key point. But to your final point there, for the people back here as well, wondering how it will affect the economy, how it will affect oil prices, this is the most significant step we've had for 4 months at the prospect of the Strait of Hormuz being reopened, not least because it includes both sides seemingly saying they will sign this agreement to reopen the strait for at least 60 days this week.
Yeah, so two things can be true. It is
saying the deceased leader, which Khamenei, is on video saying death to America. What was the context there?
True.
I've never seen that video. Do you have it?
That stock markets you're seeing reacting well to this, and yes, over time.
Oh yeah, I've seen the videos of crowds chanting "Death to America." Yeah, I don't think that's a reason that we should bomb somebody. I've seen our Secretary of Defense say kill, well, on the record of saying kill all Muslims. Yeah, that's scarier because that's the Secretary of Defense. That's a problem. Yeah, I don't think we should bomb them if there's people chanting death to America. I don't think that's a reason to go blow up their country.
The oil price will come down again because presumably the Strait of Hormuz will open. But that it's also true that things are in that none of President Trump's war aims that he set out to achieve have been achieved. In fact, all that has happened is that Iran has discovered it can play this card called shutting the Strait of Hormuz and hold the whole world to ransom. So that's kind of the place we're in. And the other thing I didn't mention very briefly is that Israel has already said that part of the deal that Iran and America think is part of the deal, that's the Lebanon war, is not part of the deal. Overnight, sources close to Netanyahu have been telling the Israeli media he doesn't believe it's part of the deal. So you can see in the...
So what do you think is going to happen there? Iran's not going to agree to this unless the end of the conflict happens in Lebanon. Israel's saying no. To MAGA, what do you think we should do here? Are you guys comfortable with Israel standing in the way of a negotiation here? Problem is you don't have a historical, accurate perspective of the geopolitics of Iran. I don't know if that's a lack of education or a blatant partisanship by being a Dem cult idiot. Well, correct. What did I miss? What's the historical inaccuracy that I'm missing here? I said that we shouldn't bomb Iran. We don't negotiate with terrorists. Yes, we do. We do it all the time. You're just quoting movies now. What are we going to do if Israel stands in the way? Well said. Well done, Keith. Well said, Mike. You used a lot of big words. Keith, you realize Mike didn't say anything, right? It's no different. It's just like he's not offering anything. He's just like, you don't understand. What do you think is going to happen with Israel? Trump seems pretty pissed at Netanyahu. Maybe we finally get a break from Israel. Maybe Trump finally says, fuck it. That'd be the best thing Trump ever did, is if he can get so pissed at Netanyahu that we stop listening to Netanyahu. But then they might release the Epstein files. So I don't know. I'm a potato with legs says, how do you make a hormone? Don't pay her. It's not nice. What? So you want China to be your world police? What the fuck are you talking about? God, you guys are so afraid. Why are you so afraid of everything? You're the most scared people on earth. If we don't nuke Iran and murder everybody, then China wins. Cuba, communism. Why are you guys so afraid of everything? I don't know how old you are, but no matter how old you are, Cuba and Iran have never been a threat to you. Never. Doesn't matter what year you were born. Anybody right now that is capable of typing, you have not been alive when Iran or Cuba was a threat to you. You have no clue about war. Okay, thanks. Jerry, you do this every day. Every day you just come in with like these general platitudes. It'd be cool if you came with something specific at some point. I would love to see any of you guys come with something specific so we could have a discussion. It's true. Like, I'm not an expert on this stuff. It's very true. But like, if you just generally like you're not an expert, then kind of hard. It's kind of hard to be like you are more of an expert. 9/11, October 7th. 9/11 was funded by the Saudis. October 7th was Hamas. And that was in Israel. So no, we were not hurt by Iran on 9/11 or October 7th. Thank you. Amy said, wait, isn't the Taliban terrorists? Trump negotiated with them on U.S. soil. That's a good point. Brought them to Camp David. Who did say that? Who did say 9/11? That Cannabis Clips? Okay. Maybe a little less on the potency there, Cannabis Clips. Could you help me out with that? With Iran and Cuba when we were at risk? Cuban Missile Crisis was about Russian missiles. Good point. I'm not afraid of Cuba. I don't know why you guys are afraid of Cuba. This tiny little island. They're just out there trying to survive. They make great cigars. You ain't smoked in 5 days? Damn. Maybe start again.
Week that we've got between now and when it's signed, how things could fall apart there. The Iranians are already saying that they've been promised unfrozen assets as part of the deal. The Americans are saying absolutely not. That's not part of the deal at all. We haven't seen the deal. The memorandum of understanding hasn't been published, and until it is, we won't have a clear sense of what's in it. But yeah, to your point, Wilf, bottom line or top line is that for the markets, this is the beginning of some good news if they sign it.
All right. So Trump made a flight. I had a late night last night sitting next to his wife, Melania, who seemed thrilled to be there for his birthday party, which we definitely... We've moved past that, but Trump threw a birthday party on the front lawn of the White House, which I thought was strange. Again, if you're a UFC fan, you probably loved that. They were great fights, but it's bizarre that all of that happened. I don't think it's the biggest story by any means, but here is this the first one? Let me make sure it's the right one. Yeah, I want to make sure I got these in order. So Trump gets over to the G7. Before we head to the G7, he meets with Macron, and they sat down. And here's what Trump again. Last week, Trump said, and the week before, Trump kept saying that the Strait is open. The Strait of Hormuz is open. He's been saying that for weeks now. It's clearly not open. I don't know why he said that. Now he's here in front of Macron and world leaders where he has to be a little more honest. And here he is. And the same people who are here arguing every single day that that Donald Trump was telling the truth. I just want you to acknowledge, and let's olive branch today. Let's acknowledge that he was lying about the Strait being open when he admits right now that it's not open.
I'm very happy to say it's signed, the deal's all signed, and the Strait is already partially opened. As you know, they're doing a little hunting.
Now, is that wrong? The deal isn't signed, right? I don't know. No, Iran hasn't confirmed that. Guess we're just lying still.
You know, they're doing a little hunting for a couple of mines that they've already found. But it's just...
So the Strait's not open. So when he said last week and the week before that the Strait was open, Maggie, can we get some agreement there? Like, let's be friends for a second. It wasn't open, right? Signed with an autopsy pen. Yeah, thank you, Amy. We might have signed it. Now, Mike, you have to answer my questions. Can we just admit? Let's have some common ground so we can have this discussion. Can we agree? Can we just agree that the Strait wasn't open?
Essentially, ships are starting to go out Now on Friday it'll be completely opened. We got along very well with Iran. It's a different set of leaders. As you know, the first set is gone. The second set is
That's a
gone.
fucking wild thing to say after you've been bombing them for 3 months. Has it been 3 months? We get along really well with Iran. It doesn't seem like it. If that's getting along, I've been doing it wrong.
And we found the third set to be very smart, strong, very smart, but we ended up making a deal. I felt badly that we had to go back on the attack for 2 nights, and I thought a third, but we made it before that happened. I'm very happy to.
The other thing is like, we could have, TikTok goes down when Trump talks? That's crazy. What did we get taken down for? Repeated violations of community guidelines. Contains unoriginal or reproduced content. Don't know what that means. Harassment and bullying. Bye, TikTok. TikTok is down. All right. Well, why couldn't we? We could have probably had this posture the whole time. It's good to see Trump's. I like Trump low energy. I want Trump low energy when he's negotiating. I think everybody should keep him up all night before he negotiates, and then I like this low energy version. He even said I felt a little bit bad that I had to murder people. When he's high energy, when he's just ripped a rail of Adderall, he's like, I fucking love this shit. And Pete Hegseth right next to him. I'm glad he's not traveling with Pete Hegseth too. That's good. I'm glad Pete Hegseth isn't involved here. Here he is about the MOU being released now again, which is the memorandum of understanding. Again, I don't think this is signed.
Mr. President, when will the text of the MOU be released?
I think pretty soon. I would say, I want it to be released because it's a very powerful document. It's not like the Obama document, which was just a terrible document. This is a very powerful document, and I want it to be released. So probably pretty soon.
It's a powerful document. Obama's document was weak. Could barely do any push-ups. What's different? We're seeing the terms. It's the same terms.
I would say sometime after Friday, because the Strait opens completely. It's open now, but it opens completely. We'll have all the mines knocked out for the most part. We have a lot of lanes right now already.
It's open, but it opens on Friday. Okay, got it.
Mr. President. So I think sometime in the very near future, yeah.
And then here's what looks like to be a sticking point. It looks like the fact that there would be a toll is going to be a sticking point here. Iran is claiming that they want to be able to charge a toll, and Trump's saying no, it's going to be toll free. So I don't know how they're going to come to an agreement on that. We'll see.
What do you expect from France and?
Well, I would love them to do that. I don't think we're going to need much help because we have an agreement where it's going to be open, and it's toll free. We had a little argument on that. It's toll.
Maybe it's just 1-8. Maybe they're just giving them a 1-800 number or something. Maybe that's what he means. It's in 2 weeks. Got it. My bad.
So I don't think we're going to need much help, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have a ship or two up here from a few countries. You'd be a great country to do it because you never know what happens. But I think it's going to be open, and I think it's going to be.
Why does France need to do this? You'd be a great country to do it. Why would France agree to go through the strait and get rid of the mines?
Free sailing. We do want to see if we can straighten out the Lebanon thing, because it just seems to just never end. And that's a mini version of what we were doing, and it should not be tough. It should not be tough. So Hezbollah, we have to have a little talk with them.
Well, they're not going to negotiate though, because remember, you guys don't negotiate with terrorists. He doesn't seem to have any leverage here with G7. We'll see. Maybe Macron will throw him an olive branch and they'll step in and they'll help out. We'll see. All right, moving on from Iran. I wanted to show some of I forget what this fucking podcast is called. It's this the All In podcast. It's this billionaire circle jerk podcast. And here's David Sachs. It's Chamath. I don't remember the other two guys' names. I found this really interesting. We had this massive IPO, and I think we're starting to see the scam in real time. You had the SpaceX IPO. We know that we're going to have Anthropic and OpenAI have their IPOs soon. And this was interesting to me because David Sachs is a big crypto guy. He's a big AI guy. Chamath is the most ethical of all these billionaires, which isn't saying a lot, but like he seems to be the most ethical. As they've talked about AI, and if AI winds up taking jobs, like we're going to have to figure out some way that people are going to make a living. We've talked about the government maybe taking a controlling or a 50% stake in some of these companies. And here's David Sachs, who is Trump's crypto czar, and works for the Trump administration. And the Trump administration has no problem taking stakes in companies, which is interesting. For the people who are terrified of the word socialism, it is interesting to watch Donald Trump take interest in these companies, like our government taking a share of these companies like you would in many of these socialist countries, and you guys still being afraid of socialism. But David Sachs now is pointing out something that I feel a little dumb that I didn't catch before. Maybe the reason that these guys have been telling you that AI was going to take all of our jobs, and maybe the reason that they don't have a plan for any of this stuff, and maybe the reason that we can't figure out why these companies are worth so much is because they're not. Maybe it's because they used these companies as a way to get rich and get out of bad deals, and they're using these massive IPOs now to cover up the fact that they have been raking in cash, burning cash for AI, which isn't going to do what they say it's going to do.
50% job loss for entry-level knowledge workers in the next 1 to 5 years.
What was that?
And he said that
I think it was 50, but let me go back. I think you said 50.
50% job loss
50%.
for entry-level knowledge workers in the next 1 to 5 years. And he said that 1 year ago.
Yeah, it's great to clarify these. Yeah,
I think that's already been refuted. Sam has walked back.
Yeah.
Sam has said that
Sam is Sam Altman, OpenAI. He was talking about Anthropic. I forget what's the Anthropic guy's name. Get his name. Now they're talking about Sam Altman.
Basically, I don't think he quantified, but he said that job loss was coming. But he said more recently that he was wrong because they're not seeing that in the numbers.
Okay, so if they're not going to take the jobs, then we just have language learning models, right? So we just have the Chat GPT that you use. We have the AI that we know now. It can make, it can make music. It can help you write outlines. It can help you do deep research. It can do some coding. But it sounds like now they're saying it's not going to take jobs. Stacey said, do you think Trump dreams about Obama during his cabinet meeting naps? Yeah, that's what keeps waking up hard.
Yeah. So these guys are not telling the same story. However, that's all the public has heard. The public has been taught that AI means job loss, and there's nothing in it for them. So no wonder politicians like Bernie are saying, hey, let's take half the wealth.
It's take half the wealth. Just a little more emphasis there.
Yeah, it's, I mean, and
it was terrible, Bernie.
No, I mean, and people are also seeing headlines of companies blaming AI for the job. So this story.
Dario Amade, thank you, Phoenix Rise. This is interesting because what they're saying is, and they're not like coming out and saying it, but they are saying that Amade and Altman and these AI companies have been giving you these flowery visions of where AI was going. And maybe they were just lying to increase their value, which means they were perpetrating a fraud on the American people, driving up these prices, getting these publicly traded companies into your 401ks. They convinced Donald Trump to do these investment accounts for kids, which was, again, it was money from Dell, but then it'll be taxpayer money that goes in to fund these investment accounts. They've been taking in foreign money, and they've been lying. Maybe they've just been lying this entire time in an effort to raise the price of their stock and get ready for these IPOs so that they can cash out. And so who did they steal from? The American people. What's the role of the government? To protect the American people. Maybe we should take 50% of these companies. And maybe we should take that 50% and pay back all the people that got scammed. Maybe we should do that.
Is being told.
I kind of feel like they deserve it. Part of me wants to agree with Bernie and just say, just take their shit, bro.
Yeah, no, they are asking for it.
Because I'm so sick of defending these idiots. It's a stupidity tax. Because
the grand cash out is your most solid conspiracy. Thank you. I think it's my best one too.
They've been out there teaching the public that what they do is harmful. For years, they've been saying it.
Well,
and I've been saying, as AI czar, I'm out there saying, no, actually, this is beneficial. But the companies that are providing it are saying that they themselves are a problem.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to be out there defending it? Yeah.
You can't. I mean, if you're building Frankenstein, or if you are,
Frankenstein's monster, right?
Baby Hitler's, nanny, there's a very simple thing to do. Kill baby Hitler. If you actually believe it, go ahead and kill baby Hitler. If you're making Frankenstein, here's an idea. Stop making Frankenstein. Unplug it. You are in charge of this monster, but you're acting as if you can't stop the monster while you're building the monster.
And that's why it kind of makes sense what they're saying here, right? I fucking hate being on the side of David Sachs right now, but that seems to be like we've been railing on this for months now. Like, why can't they tell us what the plan is? They keep telling us that they're going to replace all these jobs. Then what are they going to do with it? And they just stay silent. We keep asking, like, what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? What's it going to be? Maybe there just was never a plan because it was all bullshit. And for any of you that are new here, when we talk about like this cash out, the people who have invested in OpenAI and X and SpaceX, these are all the same people who have been investing in these tech companies forever. It's just a lot of the same people that invested in Twitter and paid $40 billion and now it's worth 20-something billion dollars. They've taken a bath. Tesla isn't making returns. Like Tesla's stock price keeps going up, but they're losing money. And so there's no liquidity available for these people to cash out on these investments. So maybe what they've done is used AI and claimed that it was going to do all of these things. And so it influenced everybody to invest because like, well, what if it does take my job? I better invest in this. At least I'll be an investor here. Maybe I can get some dividends or maybe I can cash out on this when shit hits the fan. Maybe it's just been a long con to cash themselves out because none of them have an answer for any of this stuff. And do they care about these data centers? 50% of these data centers that have been planned have been canceled. Do they care about these data centers? I don't know. I have no idea if they care about these data centers or not, but they need them to be built or to be planned so that people are like, oh, they're building out data centers. We got to keep investing. They're bleeding money. There's no way that they're going to get a return on their investment. You can't be this upside down in terms of your valuation versus your revenue. They're bleeding money. Unless they start taking jobs soon and start making a profit soon, they're going to run out of money. So do we think that they're going to, like, by the time OpenAI and Anthropic go public, do we think that they're just suddenly going to figure this out that quickly and you're going to have revenue? Do we think all these investors are just going to be like, no, that's fine. We'll keep investing. We'll keep bankrolling. They need billions of dollars monthly. They're burning through billions of dollars every single month, and they've got to find that money coming in somewhere. I don't know where they're going to get that money anymore. So maybe it's just one big giant cash out and we're going to have language learning models. Maybe that's really why you needed a race to be first. Because everybody knows that maybe these are all going to crash and one will stand at the top. Just like Google. Like you had all these, remember Alta Vista? Remember Ask Jeeves? Remember, Yahoo was big at the time. AOL search was big at the time. There were, what was that other? Netscape had their own search. And then what happened eventually? There was just one. Google, whether they were the best or weren't, like everybody just decided Google was the best search engine and nobody's been able to touch it since then. Just been Google. Maybe that's what this race to the top was. Maybe they don't care if they blow through all these billions of dollars. Maybe if they lose, what happens to them? They just bounce. Sorry, I guess we're done. We're cooked. Maybe that's what this was all about. Maybe that's why China isn't doing it the same way. Good old Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves was the best. I remember those commercials.
Is it, Daniel?
Dude, it's ridiculous. I mean,
it doesn't stand to logic.
Last week they published this blog saying that recursive self-improvement could end the world. Therefore, we need a pause. What did they do the previous month? They hired Andre Karpathy to run recursive self-improvement at Anthropic. They're complete hypocrites.
The message is nuts.
Yes, and I think Ben Thompson made an excellent point that one of the reasons he thinks that they put out that blog post on the pause was to justify the anti-competitive step they took this week of depriving users of the ability to research AI, machine learning, and chip design using Fable. Okay, so
interesting.
Look, these guys are deeply hypocritical. I don't think they can be trusted on their own terms. They can't be trusted because what they're saying is contradictory and self-indicting. And so when Bernie comes along and says, hey, let's take their shit, I mean, as a capitalist, I'm against it. But
ban Mike Hunt. Go fuck yourself. We already talked about it, but just ban Mike Hunt forever.
But I kind of like understand where he's coming from.
The game on the field. Chamath, wrap us up here. What are your thoughts? You said, hey.
Right, Chamath doesn't add anything at the end here. I don't know why they left this part of the clip, but Chamath literally doesn't add anything, and they cut him off mid-sentence. So maybe that's what they're doing. I want to show one more thing here from the same clip. about why the government banned Claude Fable 5, which was the one that they said like they didn't want AI to be able to dictate strikes without human interaction. And again, let's see, what do we got? What time is it? 11:40. We got about an hour and 15 minutes left to go. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for helping us knock out our gift goal. We've got a little more than half that gift goal left to go. We are crowdfunded, so if you can help us knock that out, that would be greatly appreciated. Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo. If we did a dollar train, there's 600 to 700 people here right now between multiple platforms. We could knock that out quick, fast, and in a hurry. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, or Super Chats are the preferred way.
It's
a great point.
You're missing one piece of it, which is at the same time that Anthropic was engaging in mandatory surveillance and nerfing its models, Dario wrote a new blog post.
Oh, God.
Saying that transparency was no longer good enough, that we needed to have a new regulatory agency like an FAA or maybe an FDA to approve all models. So your presumption there is correct. Yes, if you could go somewhere else to get your questions answered, then...
Isn't this interesting? We strip back all this AI or this regulation for these companies to grow and become whatever they want. And as soon as they get into a position where they feel like they need the monopoly, now we want regulation again. They strip away the regulation to gain the power. Then once they get to a point, they're like, we need regulation to protect their power. The tale as old as time. Like we see this time and time and time again, which is why we need to get money out of politics. It's why you need to end Citizens United. It's why you need to tax the rich. It's why you need a progressive tax policy. It's why billionaires shouldn't exist. It's because of this. It's not because of money. It's not because of greed. It's to some extent it's wealth inequality, but it's power dynamics and power inequality. Their ability to pay the government to get out of the way while they create a monopoly, and then pay the government once the monopoly is formed to protect the monopoly, is why we're in the situation that we're in right now. And it's a direct link to the amount of wealth that they have, that they are able to do this. Their wealth gives them power. They have more power than like most members of Congress. Elon Musk has more power than most states. He has more say in what happens in this country than almost anybody outside of the president. We have to put a stop to this at some point. And for those MAGA that are still here, like, jump on board with us. You don't have to be on board with everything, but getting money out of politics and not allowing these people to operate in this way that just strips all of us of our ability to compete with them. This is a fucking problem. This is why mom and pop shops don't exist. This is why we don't innovate in a way that is sensible or economical. This is why DeepSeek in China, it operates on a budget 1/1000th the size of the budget of any AI company in this country. But it might be 1/1,000,000th. It's crazy. Like they can produce the same results and spend almost no money in comparison to our country. Why? Because what we're doing is we're building, and Peter Thiel's famous for saying this. He's like, well, if you're going to build a company that can be a monopoly. Don't build a company that somebody can compete with. You need a company that can be a monopoly. And he only invests in companies that he believes can be a monopoly. Dana said in banking and terrified of the AI push. I think banking is one of those places the AI push is actually going to threaten, for sure. Burned Out said, dollar train, everyone. Jen Star said, for the gift goal. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys jumping on that. Rachel jumped on the dollar train as well. And Walter, thank you guys. And missed that, I don't think. Amber said major companies like Uber, Microsoft, and Starbucks have actively canceled, scaled back, or restricted internal AI tools after discovering that compute and licensing costs spiraled far beyond initial savings. Yeah, that's another thing these AI companies are coming up, realizing, and why they're talking about tokenizing your compute is that it's too expensive. And people are just burning through compute, and that's it's expensive for them to run those AI data centers, and they're not making any revenue to pay for it. So, good point.
You would have alternatives, but at the same time that Anthropic is engaging in this potentially anti-competitive behavior, they want to restrict your options. It's not good enough for them just to win in the free market. They're calling on the government to regulate and stop potential competitors. and limit the number of models that you have access
And
to.
why would they do that? Why would they want to get regulated? The answer super simple. They want to apply that regulation to open source, which is impossible. But this would be a great way to scuttle and sandbag open source models.
Yes.
Because they don't have the ability.
Don't they own the banks too? No, that they want to replace banks. So these are different investors. The tech investors are different. Now the banks are invested in them, but a lot of these investors, like if we go backwards a little bit, we can. And somebody mentioned last time, like the change for Glass-Steagall. It's time for like a 20th century or 21st century Glass-Steagall. When we had the financial crash of 2008, we added a bunch of regulation, and we used to have like mutual funds that we talk about a lot, like where the top 100 companies or whatever, top 50, whatever the mutual fund wants to invest in, they'll say, we'll take the top 50 companies and we'll take that money that comes in from the investors and we'll put it in those top companies. They're the safest investments. So your returns on those aren't crazy, but they're usually steady mutual funds. Well, at some point, these venture capitalists decided they wanted to compete with the mutual funds, and so they started lobbying the government to get rid of the barriers to entry. And the government, which at the time seemed like a good idea, like deregulation always sounds this way. The government's like, look, these mutual funds, they have all this power and they have an advantage over everybody else. These venture capitalists or these people doing private equity funds, they don't have the same ability to invest as these mutual funds, but they should. Like, why should the banks have have the ability to invest, but not these private equity companies, which I don't disagree with. So, but what did they do? They deregulated, or they didn't add regulation onto these to the private funds, and so these private funds started taking on risky fucking loans. The risky loans that banks can't take on because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their investors and the people in that bank. They're worried about liquidity. So these banks can't over leverage themselves because when they go down, it's not just the investment that they lose. Sometimes it's the entire bank. Sometimes it's the money that's in the bank. And the FDIC has to ensure that. And so we have all these different regulations for these banks in order to invest money that we don't have for private equity. But somewhere along the line with all this deregulation, these private equity companies started operating the same way the banks were operating pre-2008. And they were taking on massive risk versus their liquidity. So we've used this example before, but I want to drive it home all the time. The financial collapse in 2008 was collateralized debt obligation. Collateral is what you use to get a loan, right? The collateral in that case was the homes and mortgages. And then the debt obligation was these funds where they put all of the mortgages and they packaged them together into one investment, and you invested in those. And they were just seen to go. They were seen as a safe investment, and they would go up and up and up and up. But it was like boring, low rates of returns. The bankers said, "Wait, we have this product here, this collateralized debt obligation, and it goes up all the time. So because it goes up, but it could potentially crash." Because mathematically it could crash. We're going to allow people to make bets against this structure, this collateralized debt obligation. And the more, so you create a synthetic CDO. It's like a separate bet. And then people are betting on this crashing, but what they're actually betting is on this other bet. So you're betting on a bet. And when you bet on the bet, instead of getting 5-to-1 returns, you get 10-to-1 returns. Because it's increased the probability that this will be successful. And every time you create a new synthetic CDO, it increases the probability because you're betting on the bet. So then you wind up betting on the bet, that bets 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 on the bet. And when banks were left holding the bag, when enough of these mortgages defaulted and the CDOs collapsed, there was enough bets that they had like 200-to-1, meaning they had to pay out $200 for every dollar that they actually had. And we deregulated to the point, and we were so sure that these collateralized debt obligations with the mortgage industry were so secure that they could never go belly up, that we allowed the banks to make these risky bets that they had no ability to pay for. So when the government came out and bailed out the banks, and we talk about like they didn't bail out the people who lost their homes, It was the liquidity that the banks lost. The banks were in a negative. They owed far more than they had. And so the government had to print money to get the banks to pay who? Not the people who lost their house, but the people who bet against the crash. And the banks owed them money. That's why we didn't get the money, because they paid off the investors who made the bets against the housing market. And so after that, obviously, we learned our lesson, and these banks were very, very restricted. They're not allowed. There's different requirements now. They got very restricted. And what happened? These banks started talking to their friends in private equity, and they're like, hey, we have these regulations, but you don't have these regulations. So why don't you take on these types of loans? And they're like, well, we don't do mortgages. They're like, well, yeah, but there's other ways. Like, there's other ways that you can do this. There's collateralized loan obligations. An example of a collateralized loan obligation would be Twitter. Elon Musk bought Twitter, right? But he didn't buy Twitter with cash. He bought it with collateral. What was the collateral that he used? Tesla stock, right? So when the collateral goes up, which we've seen with Tesla, then the banks are happy. If the collateral goes down, and suddenly, like where we're at now, where like they're upside down, they paid $40 billion, but Twitter's only worth $20 billion. Why have the banks not come to collect on that? Because Tesla stock is still high enough. Tesla stock still provides enough collateral that if it starts to collapse, they'll sell Tesla overnight. So that's why when you look at Elon's stock with Tesla, and it doesn't make any sense. We've talked about this. Like if you're new here, GM did like 10x the revenue of Tesla, and their stock's worth like $50, and Tesla stock's worth $400. That doesn't make any fucking sense. GM is a more profitable company. Their stock should not be 8 times lower than a less profitable company. So Elon has built, one, a reputation that his company's stock should be worth more. But it's the circular financing. They've just been propping up his stock price over and over and over and over and over again. And so now we're in this situation where all of these purchases, Anthropic, OpenAI, Tesla, SpaceX, all of these companies are propped up by loans against stock. That's the collateral. So the loan obligations, people owe money. They have a loan obligation, and it's based on the collateral. And if that's stock, if we start seeing stocks drop, poof, it's done. It's over. And what happens is, it's all these people invested in private equity. So let's say that you look at your investment account. Let's say you've got a Vanguard investment account. Let's say that you have one of these private venture capitalist funds, and you're invested in that. Those can go belly up overnight even like Tesla's stock crashing could upend our entire system, the entire thing. Because we didn't regulate these people. We regulated the banks, but then the banks and the rich people figured out a way around it. And guess what happens? They'll bail out SpaceX. Why will they bail out SpaceX? Why will they bail out NVIDIA or OpenAI or whoever wins this AI battle? Because it's our entire economy. It's our entire market. Not our entire economy, but our entire stock market. And so when these collateralized loan obligations default, the government is going to be left with a decision to either print money and pump it into these companies to save your investments, or let the whole thing fucking fail. And I have this sneaking suspicion that our government, like always, is going to print more money, and they'll try and save as much as they can. Everyday people are going to get fucked because they'll lose. People that are retiring, like it's going to tank their 401k, and maybe they're a year away from retiring. Sorry. Now, if you're 20 years away from retiring, you'll probably recover. But then the people who get bailed out will do what? Suddenly, you'll have more Elizabeth Warrens, you'll have more Bernie Sanders, you'll have more AOCs. They'll flood into Congress, and they'll be like, we're going to regulate private equity. And they will come in, and they will add regulation to private equity. And guess where they're going to go? Crypto. Because we don't regulate crypto. And they're going to do what they're already doing. Why is crypto worth so much money? Not because it's worth so much money or there's so much utility. It's because the banks and the billionaires and the Saudis and the Trumps and everybody with money has been pushing money into crypto and telling you that it's the future so it can raise the price of crypto. And at some point, once again, you'll see if you see these collateralized loan obligations tank, then they'll cash out crypto, and then crypto will tank, and everyday people will be fucked. People that think they have their retirement set because they've got 10 million in Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin will just tank. They'll lose everything, and then we'll add regulation on cryptocurrency, and these same people will figure out another game and another way to rig the system. That's why you have to end Citizens United. That's why these people cannot be allowed to write our laws, because they write loopholes into our laws to keep this operating like a casino. And if you know about casinos, they're rigged, which is why it frustrates me to no end when every single day somebody comes in here and they're like, that's the risk you take when you invest. Yep, that is the risk you take when you invest. It shouldn't fucking exist, because this isn't a casino. It's a country. We shouldn't have things like this. There's limits at casinos. Casinos are far more regulated than these private equity funds. Far more regulated. Casinos are far more regulated than cryptocurrency. This is just the rich getting richer. And again, like this attitude of, oh, that's just the way it is. Well, yeah. If we continue that attitude forever, that's the way it is. If you continue to be a Republican who constantly talks about we have to deregulate, there's nothing wrong with being a billionaire. They earned it. If you continue, you're just cheerleading. And every time it gets worse and worse and worse. You had the dot-com bubble, which was bad for this country, but didn't decimate us like the housing market. Then we had the housing market. Devastating. If these collateralized loan obligations crash, it will decimate your retirements. All of you. And it will have longer impacts than the housing market, much longer, because there's no collateral. So many of these companies where the collateral exists, they will just go under. So unlike the houses where there was still yes, the house values crashed, but you still had a physical structure. And that physical structure was going to, at some point, regain its value. The collateral for so many of these loans is just stock for companies that won't even exist anymore. So they won't rebound and gain their value back. So for a lot of you, it's just Fucksville. It's a reset. When you go on YouTube and look at financial reset, there's different ways to do it. And do you know who is the best at this, perhaps in the world? You know who understands this principle better than, of all the investors in the world, you know who understands this the best? Has the best history? You guys have a name? Give me a name of who you think this is. Which investor has made all of their money navigating economic crash? My mom? No, I wish. Well, you're close. It's me, Mudpaws. Republicans, you're actually going to like this. Yes, it's George fucking Soros. It's George Soros. George Soros has gotten filthy fucking rich looking at economies that were on the ready for a collapse and going in and manipulating the currency and manipulating investment, causing the crash and shorting the crash. And the guy that George Soros tapped to be like, I'm going to teach you everything I know. You are going to be my right-hand man, and we'll do this together. But you got to go to Europe. You're going to work out of Europe, and we're going to do this together. Was Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent has done this multiple times. Scott Bessent understands this perhaps better than anybody. And there's a reason none of you knew Scott Bessent until Trump brought him around. There's a reason that none of you seem to care that Scott Bessent is literally a George Soros protege. And there's a reason that Trump is invested in all of these seemingly explosive growth stocks and cryptos and companies, because he's in on the deal. They will cash out. And who better, if you're these people, to choose as president than Mr. Marketing, Donald Trump, who is shamelessly will market himself Shamelessly will market other companies as long as there's something in it for him. He will shamelessly lie to you. He's been doing it to his investors his entire life. He's been telling them, oh, things are good. Things are good. Yeah, no, my casino's not going to go bankrupt. No, my investors are very happy. Everybody knows this is a good investment. Boom, casino goes bankrupt. Donald Trump declares bankruptcy. Donald Trump walks away, barely scathed. Everybody who invested loses their money. The real gay agenda. Yeah, that's right. Stacy says for the boss, appreciate that. Any there? So, okay. Keep this going. Sorry, that was a rant.
To be regulated. So it's like a preemptive strike against token maxing on your local machine, Chamath.
2 years ago, I bought 2,000 acres in Arizona with a partner. We got it zoned. We got it approved. So we're allowed to build a 2 gigawatt data center. And I thought that this was the moment where you just turn around and you flip it to the Blackstones, the Brookfields of the world, to the Googles of the world, let them develop it. And I've come to the conclusion that I don't think I can. And the reason is because I think that unless we direct large swaths of compute exactly at the direction that Freeberg says, what Sachs says and what Jason just said will happen, and we won't have open source.
This is important to me when I watch this, and why this was so alarming to me is what Chamath is saying is, I bought these 200 acres because I believed that these data centers were a great investment, and I was going to be able to sell this land for, or work with one of these like BlackRock to develop this into a data center. This is the future. This is the investment. I believe it. And he's saying, and now I see that I was wrong. Goes, these people who are writing our laws, again, David Sachs is the crypto czar for Trump. Chamath has bragged openly, like, I can just call him and he'll answer anytime. They didn't know either. They were 200 acres. Billions of dollars they're investing in these data centers. And while they were doing it, they didn't know. And they're coming to the conclusion now that, oh, fuck. These weren't good investments. Like it's going to be too expensive for the compute. It's like none of these billionaires have done the math. Like we were confused because we're like, wait, what math are you guys using? You never explain your fucking math to us. Can you explain this to us? We understand we're not billionaires, but can you explain it? And we'd every day MAGA in the chat like, oh, they're billionaires. They know what they're doing. And we're like, it doesn't seem like it. If they do, they're hiding it. And now they're just openly admitting we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea what we were doing. Like I bought 200 acres and nobody's going to develop it because compute is too expensive. None of them saw this coming. Billionaires are not smarter than the rest of us. They just have more money. And they're all realizing right now that this all in on AI, there's going to be one winner. And that one winner isn't necessarily going to get all the money. It's just like the economy is going to collapse around AI, and a handful of companies are going to be left standing, just like the dot-com bubble. And they're all realizing that in real time and trying to figure out which horse to hitch their wagon to. A lot of you hitched your wagon to the dumbest one, which is Elon. I don't know which one's going to win, but they're realizing now, like, uh-oh. And so what do you think they're going to do with that investment? How do you think they're going to get that off the books? They're going to call the Trump administration. They're going to try and figure out some way that they can get this off the books, get somebody to buy it, extend this AI bubble out as long as they can until somebody else is left holding the bag. And who's left holding the bag? Can't be any of these guys. They all know. Every one of these billionaires seems to know. So what are they doing? Why would SpaceX go public? Have you asked yourself that question? What's the point of SpaceX going public if it's such a great company? And Elon Musk historically loves having private businesses. He historically doesn't like IPOs because he can lose control. It opens you up to a hostile takeover. Why did SpaceX go public? Bingo, Peveville, to offload $80 billion in debt because they don't have any money, and none of these people can give them money. And so they have to offload that. There's these IPOs, Anthropic, OpenAI, SpaceX. This is just them saying, fuck. Let's, Donald, could you change the rules? Change some of the rules for us. Go out to NASDAQ. Hey, NASDAQ, could you change some of the rules here? I know normally like we wouldn't be included in the top 100 companies. Like there's a vesting period. I think it's like 6 months. But could you cut that down to 5 days? We need this to happen quickly before the American people wake the fuck up. So we're going to need this vesting period that was 6 months to go to 5 days. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Why did they do it? Because they make a fortune too. That's their job. This is why billionaires shouldn't exist. It's certainly why trillionaires shouldn't exist. And it's why they shouldn't be allowed inside of politics or not politics, lawmaking. None of this stuff should be allowed. And this is where we get. This is a room full of billionaires sitting around going, fuck, we don't know. We don't know. Looks like we made some bad investments. How are we going to get out of it? And the ones that aren't talking about it are just going in and like, oh, we're going to rob the American people. That's how we're going to get out of this.
So just to make it very clear, when you look at the long tail of access to open source models, it's relatively minuscule. Most of the megawatts are still directed to the big models. Yep. Most of them. The overwhelming majority still goes to the big guys. And so I'm coming to the conclusion that I think we may just be dragged into having to build 2 gigawatts. And I just put in an offer for another gigs in a different place, because I'm like, if you could take 3 gigawatts and now actually create a deep and liquid access to open source, we're going to have to do it. We as a community. Now, I don't have the money to do that, because just to put it out on the table, a gigawatt now costs $100 billion, guys.
Dude.
Okay, so there's a huge capital.
Sorry, I forgot about this part. This made me so happy.
Dude.
Okay, so there's a huge...
How's that a response? A gigawatt takes $100 billion.
The money to do that, because just to put it out on the table, a gigawatt now costs $100 billion, guys.
Dude.
Okay, so there's a huge capital moat that's a problem here as well, Sachs, which even if we wanted to go and endorse and breathe life into the open source model community, where the hell am I going to come up with $100 billion? Now, when I started...
Yeah, where could you find $100 billion?
This project, it was like 4 or 5 billion, and it's increased by 20x. So if you want to get all 3 gigawatts developed, I have to come up with 300 billion. Obviously I don't have $300 billion. So what are we all supposed to do? And then if you get the rug pull and the ladder pull on the regulatory side, we are going to be stuck with one class of models and one set of rules, and we won't understand how to operate.
In the U.S.
What'd you say? I thought I read that SpaceX, Musk will still own 80% even after all the stocks are sold. He will never lose control. Yeah, he still owns it, but now he's subject to a board and he has a compensation package. And if he has made some pretty wild claims with his compensation package, and now that there is public investment and shareholders get their say, it opens him up to being removed as chairman. I don't know. I haven't looked at Elon's compensation package closely enough to know what he can and cannot lose. I don't know what percentage of his stock he is going to get to hang on to forever, or what happens if he gets removed as chairman. But it's similar, I assume, to his deal with PayPal. When PayPal acquired Elon Musk's company, he had a certain amount of shares that they could not dilute, and they thought he was a genius, so they brought him on as CEO. And within less than 6 months, they're like, "Oh God, this guy's not a genius," and they kicked him out of the company. He couldn't even work at the company anymore. Now he held on to his stock, and that's how he's made all of his money since then. But yeah, it opens him up to be removed as chairman. I don't know enough about the stock that he owns, or even what percentage, or what happens to that stock should he be removed as chairman. But it does open him up to being removed. They restricted what stockholders could do. Yeah, I think there's something about, like, if you're just a general stockholder, each share is worth 1 vote. And I think like the stockholders, like the original stockholders, I don't know who, like each one of their shares is 10 votes. So even if you could acquire the same amount of stock as he had, he gets 10 votes for every 1 share. I heard that last night. Somebody would need to check and see if that's true, but that's what I heard. There it is. There's to Wall Street. It's called investment risk, dumbass. The all-in dudes are a shit ton smarter than you and your ilk. It is weird to be called a dumbass. They agree with me, dude. To Wall Street. They and I are saying the same thing. I'm showing this video because they agree with me. Hey, did you miss that? That's why I'm showing this video. They agree. I don't know if they're smarter than I am. I seem to have come to this conclusion before they did, if we're just being honest. Anybody who watches this show, like, we've been saying this for months. It seems like we were ahead of them. Maybe they're probably smarter than me in a lot of ways, but they seem late to the party. It seems like and that makes sense, right? Like, they're the ones invested. They're going to look at things through rose-colored glasses. They're like, yeah, this is going to... They're literally saying right now exactly what I'm saying. Chamath just said that. Like, I used to pay, what did he say, for like a gigawatt? It was like $2 billion he paid per gigawatt, and now it's $20 billion per gigawatt. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were. He's saying what I'm saying. Look, brother, get some investment advice from somebody else, I guess. But like, we're saying the same thing, man. They're all saying the same thing. Everybody's saying that. They're all admitting right now that we were right. And we didn't even know for sure if we were right, to be honest. We were asking a lot of questions, and I wanted a different answer. We kept saying, like, what's the plan here? What's the plan with AI? What's the plan with all these jobs they're going to get rid of? Are they going to take the jobs or not? They keep saying they're going to take the jobs, but there's no plan. So what the fuck are they doing here? And now they're like, man, it turns out we're not going to take the job. That was just all hype to pump the stock. So I don't know, man. I don't know how you missed that, but welcome. It's good to have you here. Amy said SpaceX experienced significant net losses, reporting $4.28 billion net loss first quarter of 2026 and a $4.94 billion total loss in 2025. Yeah, they don't make money. And so how are they going to be worth $2 trillion? Does that make any sense? Just future projections. They're going to mine. Remember, they in their own documentation, they're like, we're going to get our money back when we start mining asteroids. How are they going to do that? Half their spaceships fucking blow up. I don't know what percent. It's probably not half. Blow up all the time. All right. I think that's it I had on that. The last one I had on that. Yeah, I think that was it. Okay. All right. We've got about 40 minutes left. I wanted to do some actual like politics stuff today. And we'll do that. And then tomorrow I'm going to talk about the new passport.gov website. Some awesome reporting by Dre Dossier. It's been on the outline for like a week, but I keep not getting to it. But I wanted to show this interview. Aaron Rupar, who I didn't even know did anything but clip content. I honestly didn't know that. Sat down with Governor Andy Beshear in Kentucky. And the reason I wanted to show this is I do think sometimes, like, this is a political show and we talk politics, and I especially will get stuck in my own viewpoints and think that my viewpoints are the way that everybody should govern and the way that everybody should communicate. And that's pretty arrogant and pretty stupid of me to expect that. I really have a lot of respect for Andy Beshear, but Andy Beshear and I have different views on a lot of things, specifically when it comes to religion. This is a person of faith. He's more moderate on a lot of positions than I am, but he's also the governor of Kentucky. I wanted to show this interview. Again, this is Aaron Rupar, just to show like that there is, like, sometimes it feels like this political divide is impossible. And I think that it's my responsibility, and I think as voters, it's our responsibility to push our elected leaders in the direction that we think they should go, and hopefully that the direction we think they should go is something that's in the best interest of the country. And I think that that's our role. I think it's their role to hear what their voters are saying and figure out a way to put all those pieces together. And that's something that Andy Beshear does really, really well, which is why that's somebody, like, he's one of the few moderates that if he ran for president, I would be comfortable with him and I would be comfortable voting for him. Not because he and I have the same beliefs or that we would push for the same things, but he has shown a repeated pattern to take in information, listen to the voices, and try and figure out a way to get all those voices to at least have some sort of compromise that works for them. And that's how our government is supposed to work. So I wanted to show that for the rest, and maybe this is more of like a feel-good way to end things. But while we're doing that, Jen reminded me that she will beat the shit out of me if we don't hit our fundraising goals. We're a ways off on that. If you guys want to help us out and help knock out the remaining balance of that gift goal, that'd be greatly appreciated. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, as well as Super Chats are the way to go. I know we ask for money every day, but that's what we have to do when you work on the left in politics. You don't get corporate sponsors. You don't get ad revenue. So we have to rely on your generosity to keep things going. But here is Aaron Rupar and Andy Beshear.
Well, one of the things that I do for work is I watch a lot of Fox News and Newsmax. And so James Comer is on those channels a lot, and Andy Barr from your state. And so, I watch these shows and I see these Republicans on there, and I wonder how it's possible to reach voters like that. And obviously, in your most recent election, you won majority of votes in Kentucky, a very red state. So what's the secret sauce? How are you reaching these people? I mean, some are obviously crossing over and voting for you. So for any Democrats who are trying to win votes from otherwise people who would normally vote Republican, what's your appeal there? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, I'm proud to be a Democratic governor who's won 3 statewide elections, consecutive elections, in a state Donald Trump carried by 30 points. And to me, it's about starting out that recognizing that people aren't as political as we think they are, right? When they wake up in the morning, they're not thinking about the next election, they're thinking about their job. They're thinking about their next doctor's appointment, the roads and bridges they drive, the school they drop their kids off at, and whether they feel safe in their community. When you can
that was kind of a kick to the teeth for me a little bit, to be honest. And I've been working on this in my life. Like, if you're here right now, politics are a large part of your life, and not just politics, but like the legislation. It's a big part of your life. Social issues are a big part of your life. Foreign policy are a big part of your life. And I think that is wonderful, and I think it's important, and I don't think that we should stop that. There's also the other reality that for a lot of people, it's not a part of their life. And sometimes to a lot of us, it feels like it should be, and they should focus on these things. And boy, wouldn't it be nice not to think about these things? And it is. It is probably pretty nice for them not to think about these things. But the reality is that those people exist in much greater numbers than we exist. And so our efforts towards those people, we have to be kind of careful in those efforts. It is easy to turn people off. It is easy to give people the wrong messaging. It's easy to focus on the wrong things, or it's easy not to identify your audience and get people to influence people to act in a way that is not beneficial to the country. And I think that's what Andy Bashir is saying here. Is that I understood that the people that are loudest are probably don't have the same thought process as everyday people. So I need to focus on the majority of the people too, and then include those that are the loudest. And I think it's our job, my job specifically, and then your job, who's involved, to do your best in these interactions to give people at least something that they can think about and push them in a direction that's more beneficial to help our country.
Convince the voters, because it's true, that you are going to focus more on those, and you are going to work harder, and you are going to better their lives. You can win people over. But to do that, you also have to talk to people as people, right? Not talk at them, but talk to them. And we as Democrats have to get rid of a lot of this advocacy speak that was meant for the right things, but makes us sound like we're lecturing people. Our language has to have meaning. Everybody I've lost to addiction, I didn't lose to substance use disorder. I lost to addiction. The kids and the seniors.
That was an interesting point. There's a lot of language that we use, coded language that we use specifically on TikTok. Thank you, Tanya, for joining the Dollar Train, and Jamar as well. We do that a lot in TikTok, and that's a way for when you're having sensitive conversations with somebody who has dealt with substance use disorder to not be labeled as an addict, right? That doesn't make sense in the general public. I thought that was a really interesting thing, that sometimes we take our TikTok circle and we take the language that we use there, and then when we go out in public, it sounds fucking crazy, right? And it's not that you're wrong for using that language correctly. It's that you have to meet people where they're at. So if you start saying things like I can't say addiction, I have to say substance use disorder, they might not be ready for that. They might not be thinking about that. And they might think this isn't really a safe person for me to talk to because of the way that they speak. I thought it was interesting. And especially when you're dealing with Bashir, you're dealing with a statewide campaign, or in some of these cases, a nationwide campaign. For our part on the left, I do think that we need to be understanding of the fact that these politicians are meeting people where they're at, and sometimes we get so frustrated that it becomes the morality police or the language police, and we run people off. It's true. It's absolutely true. Now, I think you can police me that way. I think that I know enough and that I'm in this enough, and I think content creators who are in this space can be held to a higher standard. Because we're speaking to you. We're speaking to people who are educated. But I think sometimes we apply that standard then to members who are running for Congress, knowing, not taking into account that their audience isn't this audience. So sometimes there's stuff that feels like nails on a chalkboard to a lot of us who are in these spaces. but it feels the exact opposite to the people who are just living their life. And the way that we speak is nails to the chalkboard on them. I thought this was really interesting how Andy Bashir put this.
They're going to have meals pulled from their table because of the big ugly bill. We're not going to reverse that if we're talking about food insecurity. We got to be talking about
No, Amy, not go back to if they go low, we go high. It's meet them where they are. Use the language of that they know. I think that you I think that you can take principled stances on anything without being like tone policey. And again, in certain places though, I don't have a problem with being tone police. Like I work in this space. I work with people that understand this stuff, and there are sensitive subjects that we have to broach, and like I have to improve on that. I have to get better, and you should hold me accountable. I should be held to a different standard here. I'm just saying, like they live in a different reality than we do. I don't think you have to sacrifice any of your standards. I don't think that you have to go out there and be like, nah, fuck trans people. Like we don't have to talk about them, but like figure out a way to talk to regular people who don't understand these issues without saying like, you have to use this word, you have to use this word, you have to use this word. Like we talk about pronouns, figure out a way to have that conversation about pronouns that makes sense to them. I think that there's some people who are really good about that. I think it's a good example, but just like explain, like you learn pronouns when you're a kid, right? Yeah, I learned it in elementary school. Okay, when you were in elementary school, it's like he, she, right? Yeah. Okay, so if there's a kid there that identifies as a girl, you're teaching like he, she, right? Yeah. Do you want your kids to have to like pick on that person? No. Are your kids going to be able to understand like science? No. No. So just teach them to use the pronoun they preferred, and then they can grow up and they can figure that shit out, right? A lot of the voting public is the exact same way. They just need to hear it that way. They just need to hear that like it's not about indoctrination. It's not about trying to like trans your kids. It's just a simple matter of respect. Like you would treat somebody respectfully in your everyday life. Right? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all we're trying to say. That's all our message is. But sometimes they tune into like a live stream like this, and we're talking about the nuances of gender and it being a social construct, or we're talking about like, and this isn't a place I necessarily go, but we're talking about like genetics and are there really two genders scientifically? And people tune into that, and then they just tune right out. They're like, nah, this is crazy. That makes sense?
About hunger. If we truly believe in these causes, that there's life and death in some instances on the line, then we actually have to use language that conveys that. But the last thing is the people of Kentucky know me. They call me Andy, not governor. And the reason I think is I've been vulnerable enough to show them my why. Not just what I do, but why I do it, who I am as a human being. So I'm driven by my family that I love more than life itself, and my faith. And the main tenets of my faith are that golden rule that I love my neighbor as myself, and the parable of the Good Samaritan that says everyone's my neighbor. And I think when you
sorry, I brought up trans people, and now the Republicans are not going to listen to another word.
Show people the respect, whether they've always voted for you or never voted for you, after that veto that people wouldn't think you'd make in Kentucky. Having that respect to tell them not just what I did, but why I did it.
Mm-hmm. And I know you have a book coming up later this year that's on faith. And so
it's called Go and Do Likewise.
Okay.
The last words, the parable of the Good Samaritan. It is available for pre-order wherever you pre-order your books.
Okay, good. There you go. There's a plug. But obviously we're in a moment right now where the Republican Party is rife with corruption. It's become a bit of a cult of personality for Trump. You're not the only Democratic elected or candidate who's messaging more on faith these days. But I'm wondering, with the Republican Party being in the state that it's in, does that provide Democrats more of an opportunity with faith to kind of reclaim that as an issue that you can kind of own instead of Republicans owning that, and Democrats not being thought of as a party who kind of runs on faith or makes that a central part of their brand?
Well, the main reason I talk about my faith is it's authentic to me, and I'm sharing my why. The other reason is that faith's supposed to be about lifting people up and not kicking them while they're down. And I'm tired of a lot of Republican officials using faith to harm instead of to help. I mean, think about the miracle of the fishes and the loaves in each of the first 4 books of the gospel. It's that important that you should be able to feed everyone if you have enough food. Yet, the people that are claiming the Bible.
Christopher Felton, fucking relax, dude. We're going to stop this for a second while he's talking about faith, which I assume is very important to you if you're on the right. Why don't you pay attention to what we're talking here? It is remarkable how upset you are right now about trans people. You're talking about Nazis? You just threatened a fucking genocide against trans people. If a hypothetical that would never happen, if a woman tried to transition my child, which will never happen, nobody will ever try and transition your child. It's a hypothetical that doesn't work. You're talking about doing an actual genocide. So we're gonna mute you for the rest of this live. But Jesus fucking Christ, man, get it together. That's crazy. You just invented a scenario to justify a genocide. That's insane. You could take a look in the mirror. Enjoy your ban. That's crazy, dude. Relax.
Are cutting SNAP benefits. Jesus said a doctor's for the sick, but these people are cutting people off Medicaid that will never be able to see a doctor and are ultimately closing rural hospitals to where it's too hard to see a doctor because they're an hour or an hour and a half away. I talk about faith because if we are going to own and live by the principles, not just claim Christ, but actually follow his example, then we've got to be pushing the types of policies that the Democratic Party is behind. And then I think it gives us a common language to where if I explain why I vetoed an anti-LGBTQ plus bill, and what I said is I believe all children are children of God, and I didn't want people picking on those kids, right? I'm told to love my neighbor, and there's no...
That's such a good message. That's such a good message to cross that barrier, right? Like, remember that these are kids. We don't need to legislate picking on kids. It doesn't matter if you think trans people exist or not, or if they should exist or not. Like, if they like, it doesn't matter what your personal belief is. Like, let's not attack kids. That's a great reason to veto a bill in any scenario. And do you have to get into, like, did he decide, like, I'm going to get into the minutia of this? No, he just was like, we don't pick on kids. If you set that standard, if that's your standard, then the next time a bill comes up that picks on kids, I don't even know what scenario it would come up. Like, let's say that kids can't wear crosses to school. Let's just say that happens, right? Some blue state, blue-haired liberals like, kids can't wear crosses to school anymore. They can't wear a shirt that says, I'm a Christian. Well, then guess what? If he comes in and he vetoes that bill and he says, we're not going to pick on kids. It doesn't matter what you believe personally. We're not going to set legislation that directly targets certain kids. Well, now he gets to be consistent. Right? Like that should be pretty easy for all of us, right? That we should probably stop focusing on kids. We should probably not attack kids. That should be pretty easy.
Exception or asterisk. I'm told to judge not lest ye be judged, no comma, no asterisks. We're told to accept one another as Christ accepted you. Again, no exception. And so I think that there are some people that can maybe disagree with me on that, but know where I'm coming from. And maybe it just starts us to be able to heal some of this divide and to have a real conversation.
Yeah, and I know one of the issues in 2023 that you messaged on during your campaign was reproductive rights.
Yes.
And I was kind of revisiting that today because we think of that obviously in more blue parts of the country as being kind of...
I love it. It's not about people screaming, just keep your prep to yourself. I'm older and I know Dad well. What? Then it didn't matter who and what you were. We don't ever want to hear it in your business. What country did you grow up in? There's never been a time in this country where people didn't care who or what you were. It's just people were closeted. People who weren't straight, people who weren't Christian, people who didn't conform to like your standards. They were just quiet. What you're upset about is people being allowed to live authentically. But like, there were a lot of people in this country, specifically like white Christian men, have always been able to live authentically. White Christian women as well. You've always had that ability to live authentically in this country. And so I don't know how old you are, but if you're saying like it used to be nobody cared, no, you guys just didn't talk about it. People cared. It just wasn't, they weren't allowed to live in the same way you were. You were allowed to go and live your way, right? You were allowed to go out there, hold hands with your husband, hold hands with your boyfriend. You were allowed to go to church. You were allowed to like pray in school. You were allowed to like have your city have businesses closed on Sunday because of Christianity. You had all that stuff. What happened is when other people started getting the rights to live their life authentically, and when socially it became more normal for people to live authentically different than you do, that's when it became a problem. You're like, oh, I liked it better when I could pretend it didn't exist.
Polarizing issue, but again, you had a lot of success in that election. So talk about kind of the thought process that led into you deciding to kind of embrace that issue. And do you think that the way that you handled that issue actually played a key role in your victory that year.
So people don't like extremism, no matter what side it's on. And in Kentucky, my state, my Republican supermajority passed the most extreme, draconian.
For the record, I agree with that. I also don't like extremism. Because if it's extreme, it's not generally the will of the people. If we're talking about legislation, extreme legislation doesn't usually reflect the will of the majority. And whether you like the legislation or not, like it sets a standard of, hey, sometimes we can just do whatever we want because we want to. It doesn't matter what the people think. Thank you, Andrea, for joining the Dollar Trend Set for the Brad Pitt's Ocean 12's vibe today.
Abortion bill that exists anywhere in the country. There are 0 weeks and 0 access. There are 0 exceptions, including for rape or incest. So my Republican supermajority provided more rights to a rapist than his victim. That is just wrong. And you know what? About 80% of Kentuckians believe it's wrong too. So we knew that this was an issue, even though most people wouldn't go there, that would show how extreme my opponent is.
I think Kentucky got there where 80%, and this is according to polling, so you can say it's accurate or not, but if it's 80%, it's certainly 70%. If it's 80%, it's certainly 60%. How do we get to a position in a Republican-led state where even like their own constituents, super majority of their own constituents were like, this law is nonsense, and yet it gets passed through Congress? Because they're not really responding to you. They're not really advocating on your behalf. It's for their donors, right? It's for an ideology. That's why they keep bringing in these psychopaths from the Heritage Foundation. That's how we get to this point where extremist views win, because we're so divided that like when we vote Republican or Democrat, it might be an extremist. You might just be voting for the red or the blue because they're extreme and they're not going to do the will of the people. I'll say, generally speaking, I can't think of any places where, like, I mean, California might have some. I don't know. I can't think of any legislation that was insane that passed any of these states, by the way, that was like extremist on the left, but tons on the right. My Lady Hernandez said, I appreciate you trying to talk to everyone, but I don't have the patience for language policing or ignorance either.
Because he refused to look at the camera and say something all of us should say. I believe that victims of rape and incest should be able to have those services.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was Hadley. So Hadley Duvall is one of the most courageous people I've ever met. And she was willing to share the most painful story anyone could. At 12 years old, she was impregnated by her stepfather who was raping her. But she wanted to look at the camera and tell that story, and people could look at Hadley and they could see their daughter, their sister. They could see someone that they knew. She pushed empathy into something that had almost been taken out of it. And her courage at 20-something years old, knowing she's going to go back to college and maybe she'd be judged, I think people also just connected to that. Here is someone standing up for what they believe in this amazing display of courage that I'm still in awe from. And you know what happens when she went back to that college where she thought she'd be judged? They made her homecoming queen.
Oh, wow.
I don't think she ever paid for coffee again either.
Yeah. So how do you explain, I mean, you're talking about how reproductive rights, you're on kind of the majority side of that issue. There's a lot of economic issues we could talk about where Democrats, I think, have a very strong message to run on.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Kentucky, as you've mentioned a couple of times, has supermajorities in both chambers of Republicans. Why haven't Democrats made more inroads? Is there something you're doing uniquely that makes you more appealing than most Democrats? Or what would it take for the legislature there to look more like you look like in terms of your policy?
So I think we will reverse the trend we've seen in the last several elections.
I think governors are different. I think that this actually happens a lot. I think people vote for governor based on who they trust. I really do think that it is different that way. And once you have a governor in there who you feel like you can trust and who isn't getting involved in like the national scene all the time, I think it's a lot easier for people to like in Kentucky to vote for somebody like Andy Beshear, because Andy Beshear doesn't scare anybody. He doesn't have any views that scare anybody. He doesn't have a demeanor that scares anybody. He's chosen to take on the issues that Kentuckians care about. And the thing is about Andy Beshear is in his state, Kentuckians don't really care about all the shit that's in the national spotlight. All the shit they normally talk about, like they want jobs. They want to be left alone. They don't want to fight, like they don't want to force women to have their rapist babies. And Beshear got that. He recognized where he was. Would this work in Massachusetts? Probably not. Was it work in Kentucky? Yeah. Would he run a different campaign in Massachusetts? Probably. It's pretty good.
If Trump's
so a lot of people like Shapiro, Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Most people I know that live in Pennsylvania think he's doing a good job. I don't think he should be president. I wouldn't vote for him for president, but it appears that he does a very good job at finding Republicans and Democrats to support him, and they tend to like him over there in Pennsylvania.
Elections has brought a lot more Republicans to both chambers that we have. But the truth is, and you can ask folks around the South, that the Democratic Party, the National Democratic Party, stopped investing in us. And we had decades of being left behind, left out, and sometimes looked down upon. But look at what we've done and how we scrapped back. We have 3 Southern Democratic governors, and myself, Abigail Spanberger, and Josh Stein. Georgia gave us 2 Democratic U.S. senators, and we're going to have another one in Roy Cooper in North Carolina.
Think about it. Bill Clinton was from Arkansas. Can you imagine a Democrat governor in Arkansas who then went on to be the president? Sarah Huckabee Sanders state. Can you imagine her getting beat now by a Democrat? It wasn't that long ago. But it like he's saying, like, this type of messaging works even across the South. Like, take away all of these stupid, like, social arguments. Take that away from people. It's a deeply religious place. Don't try and explain it like somebody lives in New York City. Just explain it a little differently. Explain it like most of these people that are dealing with these social issues. They'll never deal with them ever in their life. They don't need to understand that much. Just keep it simple, like Bashir. Like, let's take care of kids. Let's make sure that victims are victims. Let's not give the perpetrators of crime more rights than the victim. Pretty simple stuff.
We're going to win races that people aren't expecting, and we're starting to see that investment again. But if you go decades of all that money coming in, demonizing anything that is a Democrat, it means that it takes time to push back, to fight back, and to claw back. But that's exactly what we're doing. And as we're sitting here today, I was just in Alabama. Their Democratic primary turnout doubled from 4 years ago. Wow. Doubled. South Carolina, where they said no thanks to Donald Trump.
Anna, take a nap. It's time for you to take a nap. Get out of here. Anna's just like, don't talk about anything I'm uncomfortable with. Just go, it's time for a nap. Is Price is Right on, Anna? Maybe go check that out. Is it still Drew Carey? Is he still hosting?
Trump's redistricting. Yeah. And yes, please, to more Jim Clyburn's leadership, broke every early voting record for every day it was open. So I think we're seeing people not wake up, but people whose voices are...
No, David, you're wrong about that. Clinton walked the middle, thus was successful. A word? What did Obama do? You said Dems went off the rails these days. Like, this is revisionist. What did Obama do? He was a 2-term president. Was he walking the middle? How'd Biden do? Was he walking the middle too? Are all these people walking the middle? Don't do that. Don't try and spin this now, David. You want to talk about going off the rails? Have you missed the last year and a half? Have you missed the Trump presidency? Did you miss the insurrection on January 6th? Did you miss that part? Did you miss this war that we're in right now? Did you miss the event this last weekend? Let's not talk about going off the rails, David. Let's not do that.
Being torn from them, making sure that they express exactly how they feel about it.
And, as you're functioning as a governor and you're dealing with Republicans, not necessarily Comer or Barr, who are the people that I have access to, but the state Republicans there, obviously you have to govern the state. You're dealing with these supermajorities that are of the opposite party. Where are some issues that you found where there is actually more common ground, or you can have really constructive governing working with Republicans?
So behind the scenes, there are things we can work on. But as you know, politics has become so performative that I'll be working behind the scenes, getting something almost done with someone, and then they'll go on the floor of the Senate or the House and claim I've never met with them when we were just together an hour ago. I sometimes wonder if I should throw the red flag to play the replay. With people getting up and blasting me in the performance when I was just in their hometown. And they said that biggest jobs announcement that had ever come there, I helped make it happen. So we've got to get just that that rank partisanship out of our politics when you think you have to attack someone else just because they're of another party when you're working together. Now, you can attack them for their position on this or that issue, but you see things like economic development.
I actually don't think that's terrible. You said, where did that go? From the outside looking in, red and blue sides seem to have an identity crisis, though I only see the big news, so perhaps miss the details. Yeah, I think that that's a good thing. Like, I think that we view politics now in terms of a national identity, and that's just not that sensible of a way to view politics. Every state is very different. Every city is very different. Rural areas are very different than like metropolitan areas. I think what we've seen more than anything is the side has become Donald Trump is everything to MAGA, and the left has had a hard time putting somebody to pit against Donald Trump, which I appreciate. I don't want it to be like this guy versus this guy. But yeah, everything's become nationalized, and I think there's a great deal of that has to do with the way that we consume media. Like, how many of you, like, even little things like talk radio, local talk radio. When I grew up, I lived in Utah. If there's anybody from Utah, there was this guy named Greg Wright. He had an afternoon like call-in show on the radio, and he would play, and then it was like he went, and then it was I think usually either Hannity or Rush Limbaugh came after that, but they would talk about local things. Like, nobody seems to care very much locally. Everybody's just engaged in nationally what Trump is doing or what Biden is doing, and so it's kind of hard to have an identity, especially when you're going to have a president who likely isn't going to share your identity or your lived experience. I would like to see less identity, and that means we got to get money out of politics. We've got, like, it's big money to push Trump. It's big money to campaign against Trump. That's where everything is centralized right now. And again, like, we just have to undo all this shit that we've done. It used to be a lot easier, and with social media and with advertising and with even programs like mine, like, it's just a lot more entertaining, and we're incentivized to talk about national politics. We've lost 200 viewers with this interview. Nobody wants to sit around and watch this interview with Andy Bashir. Some of us are going to have to take an L sometimes. Some are just going to have to just be like, hey, we're going to have to cover shit that people don't want to see and use our influence in that way. But I do agree with you. I think that we do have an identity problem in this country. Neely said, so many turds in the chat today proving they just want to be hateful without repercussions. No tolerance for intolerance. I think that's where a lot of people are. I think a lot of people, I think people just enjoy being victims. I think people, it's easy to be a victim. It's easy to say that all your problems are caused by one specific person. You can accuse me of the same thing. We talk about Donald Trump a lot, but again, we have to go back to the Republicans aren't doing anything. They literally just go on vacation all the time. They're like, Donald, do whatever you want. So we're kind of forced to talk about Trump.
Can't and shouldn't be partisan. We are all better off when you bring in new jobs. I've been the governor that's brought in more jobs than any other in history, about 70,000, about $50 billion in new private sector investment. But the thing I'm most proud of right now is our average new wage of a new job last year was almost $30 an hour, and we're going to beat it this year. Now, does that support a full family right now? No, because things cost too much, but it's a big step forward for Kentucky.
That's actually incredible.
And you're up here in Minnesota. Obviously, you're traveling the country as part of your duties as the Governor Association chair on the Democratic side.
And we're going to elect Amy Klobuchar as the next governor of Minnesota.
There you go. She's here tonight as well. I want to reflect for a moment on the 2024 election, and obviously it was a wipeout for Democrats nationally, at least.
Though the DGA didn't lose one seat.
Oh, okay, there you go. Well, that's a good kind of...
it's a Democratic Governors Association.
Piece of context to add to that. But it seemed like in the months following that, there was kind of this idea that Democrats had to moderate, especially on social issues. You had Governor Newsom bringing on Charlie Kirk onto his podcast, which he took a lot of heat for. How have the lessons, as you kind of process them from 2024, changed with some hindsight now, with what we know about the Trump administration over the last year and a half? As we head into 2026, what are some of the maybe ways that Democrats can campaign differently in this environment than they did 2 years ago?
So first, let me say, I think some people misread that election. We should never throw anybody under the bus. We should always stand up for our convictions.
Thank you, Kim, for your Antifa dues. Just a reminder, guys, about 10 minutes left. If you want to help us knock out that gift goal, that'd be greatly appreciated. And make sure you're getting your Antifa dues in, or you're not invited to the potluck. Antifa potluck coming up at the end of the month here.
and we should push back against discrimination in any form. That's not what that last election was about. Donald Trump convinced the last group of undecided voters that he was focused on their day-to-day affordability issues and that the Democratic Party was distracted, that we were focused on 50 different issues or we were focused on one that he convinced them we'd spend 100% of our time on that just wasn't a part of most people's daily life. What we've got to do is, again, what I call the 80-100 rule. Stand up for every one of your convictions, but 80% of your time on things that matter to 100% of the American people. Jobs, healthcare, infrastructure, public safety, public education.
Preaching to the choir. Would love that. Jobs. What are we going to do with jobs? What's the problem with jobs? What's our problem with jobs? It's not really that we can't find jobs, right? It's that we can't find jobs that pay enough. That our jobs don't pay us a living wage. That perhaps some people can't find a job where somebody can stay home and take care of their kids. Maybe they can't afford to have kids. Maybe they can't afford to go and buy a house. The American dream for a lot of them is done. Yeah, it's low pay. That's the problem. Why are the Democrats not talking about that? And how do you talk about that? Too many Democrats are just like, we got to do something about the jobs. What? What are you going to do? I like the idea of raising the minimum wage, but the only reason I like the idea of raising the minimum wage is because I don't think we're going to do anything about the people who pay. I don't think we're going to incentivize the people who pay to pay more. I don't think we're going to incentivize them to trickle that wealth down. So you have to do minimum wage. But like, even if you raise the minimum wage, eventually, like $7.25 at the time, that was a big bump. Now it's still $7.25. If you raise it to $20, what happens if we don't change anything? Eventually, $20 becomes like you can't live on $20. Then if you go to $30, then you can't live on $30 because they'll just keep moving the goalposts. What you have to do is you have to create a system where the wealth flows and circulates, and where people who have a full-time job can afford to live where they live. That they can have a roof over their head. That they can pay for their to have children. That they can have groceries. This idea that like, oh, that job is a low-skilled job. It should not pay a living wage. Since when? Like, all these things we call low-skill jobs now were the things that a lot of your grandparents did. Manual labor. That's what your grandparents. And now we're like, oh, if you do manual labor, you just shouldn't even be able to make a living wage. If you're flipping burgers, damn, like there were people that worked in diners their whole life. My grandmother worked in a diner her whole life. She made decent money. She worked like part-time. I have a friend whose dad was a bus driver, a school bus driver. There were 3 kids in their family. Their dad drove a school bus, and then he worked in the summer. And they were fine. They weren't wealthy, but like they lived. That's the problem. You don't hear enough Democrats talking about what the plan actually is there. They don't hear enough of them explaining how you actually get to that solution where like you have good paying jobs where you live. The other problem with a minimum wage, like a standard of a minimum wage and standard of living is like $30 an hour if you live in rural Arkansas versus $30 an hour if you live in New York City or you live in San Francisco or you live in Dallas. Like you can't afford to live for $30 an hour. So again, it's really about fixing the system and making sure that the wealth is distributed, that the people that own the companies aren't hoarding all of the wealth, that they don't just get to keep all the profits from the labor. Have to address the cost of living issue. Yeah, but I think those go together, right? Part of the cost of living issue is the fact that some people have so much that they can, like their purchases can actually get rid of some of the supply, and it makes the demand go up, and then you have low supply, high demand, and then the cost of living goes up. Yeah, breaking Newsom fears he could soon be arrested by Trump's Department of Justice. That'd be crazy. Sure.
If we are the party viewed as being better on each of those, about getting real results in them, we will win, even if people disagree with us on different social issues.
Well, that's all I got. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
You've seen
it.
that time and time again. You saw it with Mom Donnie. You've seen it with Andy Bashir. Like Mom Donnie and Bashir, ironically, are very similar. It's just that what they're talking about is different because their constituents are different. Like Mom Donnie's running on rent freezes. Mom Donnie's running on like paying for childcare for kids, 2 and up. He's running on fixing food deserts with government-owned grocery stores. He's running on public transport. Obviously, Andy Bashir is not going to run on any of that, but they did the same thing. They understood what everyday people in their state were struggling with, and that they created their base of everyday people. And then you had a lot of people, even wealthy people, get on board. My cousin that lives in New York City, she's a 1%er, like 1% of I don't know what her net worth is, but it's silly. She's out there like canvassing for Mom Donnie. There's nothing about Mom Donnie's message that would benefit her at all. Like, she's going to pay more taxes. Like, it personally doesn't benefit her, but it benefits her community and it benefits people that she cares about. So she was out there, and like she would send pictures, and like her and her super wealthy friends who were out there campaigning for Mom Donnie. Because again, like they could try and give some of their money away, but is that going to fix the problem? No. Smart lady. Yeah, she's smart. She's by far the smartest person in my family. This guy Fox says, watching all these World Cup visitors enjoying America for the first time has really stoked my patriotism. We're still a great country, just currently under bad management. I agree. If you guys, I might show this actually. That might be a good feel good way to end this. Again, we're way off on the gift goal today. That happens on Monday sometimes. I know times are tough for everybody. If you want to help us knock out the remaining balance of that gift goal, that would be greatly appreciated. But let me show you this. I'm glad you sent that message because I kind of forgot about this. But I saw this on TikTok. I think CNN did. I think CNN put this up. But the Algerian national team chose Lawrence, Kansas, which is home of the University of Kansas, as their I don't know what you call it, their home base for the World Cup. This was really cool. I loved this.
Thought that some of a North African soccer team's biggest fans come from Kansas.
I want to say thank you to Team Algeria for choosing our hometown, Lawrence, Kansas, to come here.
A city in Kansas has embraced the Algerian national soccer team that is training there ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
I was so happy that they chose our town for their base camp, so welcome. Welcome to United States. Welcome to Kansas.
National teams from around the world have chosen different states throughout the U.S. to serve as their training grounds before they compete.
Yeah, Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
In the World Cup. And Team Algeria's base camp is in Lawrence, Kansas, population 97,000, a self-described fun-loving and a bit bohemian place that's home to the University of Kansas. And the city could not be more excited.
Team Algeria, welcome to Lawrence, Kansas.
The team has been training at the university, where the band welcomed them by wearing Algerian scarves as they played, and fans sang along to their national anthem. Team Algeria will be playing its first game in the World Cup against Argentina on June 16th, with a Kansas fan base rooting for them to make it far.
Vive l'Alger!
Who would have thought that some of a North
All right, somebody mentioned this. I haven't seen this one too. This is the Scottish fans in Boston. I haven't seen this one. Sorry, I've lived in the Midwest. The Midwest gets like, it is very white, very, very white, and their social views are not going to match your social views if you live in a metropolitan area. I will say, I will agree with that though. I lived in the Quad Cities in Iowa, and it's just different. They do. I worked also for a company called Color Run. Some of you guys maybe have done a Color Run 5K before, and so we went to a lot of these smaller cities. I remember just being in Manhattan, Kansas, Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Iowa. Where else did I go? I'm trying to remember the other places. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Like it's just different in the Midwest. I get like that feeling. And again, we all consume politics. Like we consume it every day, and that is our world. And so our worldview is different than the people who don't. But like these people, good people still exist, and I think that's important to remind ourselves of that. And it doesn't mean that you stop consuming this stuff. It doesn't mean that you stop caring. It doesn't mean that you stop making a difference. But my plan in showing the Andy Bashir interview and now these, which wasn't planned, is just to say, like, you know what, some of these people aren't going to respond to the way that we message, and there are good people who want good things for everybody, and like maybe it's time we involve those people. And I think a great step in involving those people is getting money out of politics. And I think that kills so much of the divisiveness. You just get that out. Take no more people making hundreds of millions of dollars writing our laws for an oil company. I think everybody's better off that way. But I guess so. This is in Boston.
Scotland fans.
fans hot off their win after beating Haiti at Boston Stadium last night. That game ended 1-0. It was Scotland's first win in the World Cup in 36 years. And tonight, the Tartan Army has taken their victory lap. They marched to Fenway Park for tonight's Red Sox matchup. NBC 10's Mary Marcos was there, surrounded by a sea of kilts.
Tartan Army.
The Tartan Army taking a victory lap through the streets of Boston.
Quite a night, yeah. Well, what I can remember of it, of course.
About 5,000 strong, marching from Evansway Park to Fenway, where kilts are welcomed and beers are bottomless.
I'm wearing my, what we call our falling down kilt. This is our drinking kilt. Okay? Right?
Scotland! How much beer, you ask?
We usually have about 24 in a day.
Oh, what did he say? What was that? How much beer did you ask?
We usually have about 24 in a day.
I think he said I usually have about 4 a day. One more time. 24?
How much beer, you ask?
We usually have about 24 in a day.
24? Is it 24? I feel like I'm watching Snatch. That's another Brad Pitt reference. 2 in a row, or 2 in one day.
Scottish fans are even taking over the bars near Fenway, singing chants like the flower of Scotland.
Scotland's got a million songs, we've got loads. I think you need to get some new songs though. You see we only have one song. USA, USA. You need some more imagination. What's happening?
All this after beating Haiti at Boston Stadium, a moment they've waited decades for.
Very emotional. There's a lot of tears. A lot of tears for the Scottish boys.
I was 14 the last time Scotland were in the World Cup. That's 28 years ago. If it took another 28 years to get to the World Cup, I'd be 70. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip.
And on Sunday, they embraced America's pastime.
We got jerseys for the soccer, for the football, and then today we've got all the Scotland players on the back.
But when the party's over, they're trying to leave Boston better than they found it.
Nobody likes leaving a mess. I mean, it happens sometimes, but the people of Boston have been really nice to us, and I think it's just a bit of respect.
And the city is taking notice.
Yo, look, see, this make it easy for me. They deep, man, and they could drink too. What? Are you kidding me, man? They must have got no water over there in Scotland.
That sucks. It does kind of suck that people are coming here and they care more about our country than we do. We could pick up some trash once in a while.
Tickets for the World Cup game start around $1,000 depending on which game you want to go to. But if you're coming to the Red Sox, bleacher seats start closer to $50. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's much better value, better value for money than the World Cup, I think.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Reporting at Fenway, Mary Marcos, NBC 10 Boston.
That's so un-American to leave another person's land in better condition. That's right. We just go bomb your land.
A lot of fun happening out there. Haiti, Scotland, of course.
Right. That was cool. Thank you. Who said that? This guy Fox said, watching all these World Cup visitors enjoying America for the first time has really stoked my patriotism. Me too. When I saw that one earlier today from Lawrence, Kansas, I was like, yeah, we need more of that. So there's a feel good Monday for you. I hope that some of you guys enjoyed that. It's we drove away a lot of people today from the live, but I needed like a feel good Monday, so I appreciate it. Let me get a couple comments and then we'll get out of here. Cody said for the gift goal, thank you. Natalie said a bit more to help. W. Lee for the $50 over on Venmo said for all of the things. Stacy says great discussions, thank you, Stacy. Christine said for the Antifa dues, good. Also make sure that you bring your dish for the potluck. This month's Antifa get together is a potluck. Sully said for Antifa dues. And there's your city, Sully. There's Boston for you. I love Boston. I'm a big fan of Boston. I love that accent. After Minnesota, it's my favorite accent. B-52 bomber just crashed. Is that real? That's a real thing? Let me look real quick before we sign off. I did B-53 bomber. It's not correct.
I see something outside of Edwards Air Force Base.
California, Edwards Air Force Base in Kern County, California. That base has put out the following alert, and it reads like this. A United States Air Force B-52 Stratofortress, that's a huge plane, crashed shortly after takeoff on the Edwards Airfield, 11:20 a.m. We assume that to be Pacific time, which would have been just about an hour ago. The statement continues. Emergency crews immediately responded to the scene. Situation's ongoing. More information will be provided as it becomes available. So you can see there that charred runway, that tarmac in Kern County, California.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. What we don't know is how many people might have been on board. Crew members, passengers. We don't have an idea just yet. No word on the pilots, whether they're able to get out or not, or even the cause of this. So at the moment, we're in the very early stages, but wanted to share that live picture with you out of California and Edwards Air Force Base.
My goodness. I'm looking. Jen, do you see any other details?
Let me see. I see something 6 minutes ago from the Chronicle. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any additional information that I'm seeing right now. Oh, wait. So, hold on. Typically is crewed by 5 people. Typically.
But we don't know if any of the people on board
or not, but typically there's 5 people on board.
This was what, 30 minutes ago? 50? Where's this? An hour ago? That's surprising.
Was it 11:20? So an hour and a half.
That's weird that we don't know people are on board, right?
Yeah, so that the Chronicle said 6 minutes ago, it crash happened at 11:20.
Do you keep saying 6 months ago? What do you keep saying? 6 minutes ago?
6 minutes ago. The article is from 6 minutes ago.
Oh, I thought you were saying months. I was like, I think that might be the wrong one. Do we have another B-52?
The article was posted 6 minutes ago.
I'm seeing some, but unconfirmed. The crew is assumed. Let's see. B-50 crew of 5, all of whom have individual ejection seats. Well, I guess we'll figure that out tomorrow. That's crazy. I hope everybody's okay. Amy said, congratulations to Mexico for getting universal health care. I'm moving to Mexico. Oh, man, if I didn't have a daughter, I'd move to Mexico tomorrow. I love Mexico. Viva Mexico. Did I miss any, Jen?
Nope, that's all.
Okay. Any last words from you?
No.
Okay.
See y'all tomorrow.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on YouTube or Twitch. Jen, are we still banned on TikTok?
No, the appeal went through.
We'll be back on TikTok tomorrow, where we will try not to harass or bully anybody. Every Evie thing said to keep Jen from losing her mind. Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for joining the Dollar Train as well. I might have missed that one earlier.
It wasn't for harassment and bullying. That ban, by the way.
Oh, we just got a warning for that? There were a whole bunch of warnings.
That was from an old comment from January.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it said it was misinformation.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I said we were playing a video of President Trump. So that's the appeal went through.
All right. Well, until we see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, go outside and touch grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you can't touch grass or smoke grass, best of luck to you. Look yourself in the mirror and say something nice about yourself. Be nice to your friends and your families. Reach down, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and then get those boots on the ground. But most importantly, just be nice to yourselves. Drink lots and lots of water. Stay hydrated. And until I see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, take care of yourselves, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.